In the quiet stillness of the desert, where the wind moves softly over golden dunes and the sun dips slowly beneath the horizon, there lies a world often hidden from the casual observer. Ancient Egypt, with its grand temples, sprawling cities, and endless riverbanks, is a civilization remembered for its remarkable achievements, its pharaohs, and its art that has endured for thousands of years. Yet beneath the grandeur of its monuments and the serene flow of the Nile, there exists another layer of Egypt, a shadowed and mysterious realm where the imagination of the ancient people gave shape to beings that were both fascinating and fearsome. These are the monsters of ancient Egypt, creatures whispered about in the corridors of temples, imagined in the tombs of kings, and etched into stories meant to guide, frighten, and instruct. In this video, we are not merely going to list these creatures. Instead, we will gently wander into their world, exploring the myths and legends that gave them life, as if walking softly through a dream, where fear and fascination intertwine. The monsters of Egypt were never purely evil, nor were they simply embodiments of chaos. They existed as mirrors of human experience, reflecting the hopes, fears, and moral understandings of a people who lived in a world that was both harsh and beautiful. Just as the desert could shift without warning and the river could flood without mercy, life was unpredictable, and so too were the stories that emerged to make sense of that unpredictability. In these tales, the monsters acted not only as adversaries but also as teachers, guiding souls through the complex landscapes of morality, divine judgment, and cosmic order. By understanding the stories of these creatures, we can gain insight not just into ancient beliefs, but also into the human mind itself, how imagination turns danger into narrative, and how the unknown is given form so that it may be confronted, even if only in the quiet spaces of thought. Tonight, as we embark on this journey, it is important to settle into a space of calm and attentiveness. Let the quiet of your surroundings match the gentle cadence of this storytelling. Imagine yourself standing on the bank of the Nile at dusk, the water reflecting the deep purples and oranges of a fading sun, while the distant silhouette of a temple rises against the horizon. The air is warm, carrying the faint scent of sand and lotus flowers, and somewhere far away, a solitary bird calls. It is in this moment, suspended between day and night, between the real and the imagined, that the monsters of Egypt become accessible to us, not as figures of sudden terror, but as gentle guides into the realms of myth and mystery. Each monster we will encounter tonight has a story, a purpose, and a meaning deeply intertwined with the life and death of ancient Egyptians. Some dwell in the shadows of the underworld, guarding the passages that lead souls onward or devouring those deemed unworthy. Others stride through the physical world, terrifying yet respected, commanding the awe of humans with their strength and unpredictability. Their forms are often hybrids, combining aspects of familiar animals in ways that startle the eye and stir the imagination. A serpent might twist with the body of a lion. A bird may carry the gaze of a human, and each combination carries significance, telling lessons of morality, power, and cosmic balance. By listening carefully, we can hear not only the myths themselves, but also the rhythms and intentions behind their creation, appreciating the layers of meaning that the ancients wove into every line and depiction. As we move forward, it is not necessary to feel fear or urgency. Instead, allow the narratives to unfold slowly, like a soft current carrying us along the edges of a vast, mystical land. Imagine that with each story, you are stepping further into the silent corridors of time, where echoes of chants, whispers of priests, and the quiet shuffle of unseen creatures resonate in a space untouched by modern noise. These monsters are companions in our exploration, teaching us patience, curiosity, and wonder. Their terror is subtle, often more psychological than physical, designed not to startle but to linger in the mind, provoking thought and reflection, while also providing the calm, rhythmic patterns that are so conducive to sleep and relaxation. In this first section, we have only begun to open the door into this shadowed world. The monsters of ancient Egypt are not simply the stuff of nightmares. They are expressions of the human need to understand, to explain, and to give form to the unknown. They are reminders that even in the most organized and sunlit civilizations, there are spaces where mystery and fear intertwine, where imagination meets reality, and where stories provide both caution and comfort. Tonight, as we explore each terrifying yet fascinating being, allow yourself to drift gently into this ancient landscape, keeping your mind calm, open, and ready to wander through sands, temples, and the deep shadows of the Nile's eternal night. To truly understand the monsters of ancient Egypt, it is important to first step into the landscapes that shaped their imaginations. Picture the Nile, the lifeblood of the civilization, flowing steadily through the heart of the desert, its waters glimmering in the soft light of early morning. The riverbanks teemed with life, birds in soft flight, fish gliding beneath the surface, and reeds swaying gently in the warm breeze. To an observer, the Nile is serene and life-giving, yet beneath its calm exterior lies a hidden world, full of unseen dangers and mysterious depths. Crocodiles, snakes, and other creatures lurked beneath the surface, their silent presence sparking fear and fascination alike. In this environment, it is easy to see how the imagination of the Egyptians could transform natural threats into myths and monsters, weaving cautionary tales into the very fabric of their culture. Beyond the river, the desert stretches endlessly, a vast expanse of golden sands under a sky that can shift from blazing sunlight to inky night in an instant. The desert is both beautiful and unforgiving. Sand dunes rise like sleeping giants, shifting constantly with the wind, hiding what lies beneath. In the harsh heat of day and the chilling cold of night, life in the desert is a constant struggle. The Egyptians, acutely aware of the perils around them, imbued the desert with a sense of mystery and awe, imagining it as a domain where gods walked unseen and monsters prowled quietly in the shadows. The isolation of these sandy expanses, the echo of wind over stone and sand, and the stark contrast between light and shadow created a fertile ground for storytelling, where monsters could emerge as extensions of the landscape itself. Temples, tombs, and monumental structures added another layer to this environment. Built along riverbanks or nestled in desert cliffs, these sacred places were designed not just for worship, but also as portals between the known world and the realms of gods and spirits. The Egyptians believed that the boundaries between life and the afterlife were thin, and that unseen beings moved between them with quiet intent. The walls of tombs, decorated with hieroglyphs and intricate depictions, often portrayed monsters as guardians or threats, blending fear and respect into every image. As one walked along the shadowed corridors of a tomb, flickering torchlight would make the painted creatures seem almost alive, their forms stretching and twisting in the mind of the observer. The careful placement of these depictions, always with an eye toward both protection and storytelling, reveals the intimate connection between the physical landscape and the creatures imagined to inhabit it. Even the changing skies played a role in the creation of monsters. The sun's journey across the heavens, the rising of stars, and the phases of the moon were all watched closely by the Egyptians, who found meaning in celestial patterns. Nightfall, in particular, held a special significance when shadows lengthened and the desert's cool darkness replaced the warmth of the day. In these quiet hours, the unknown seemed closer and the imagination more potent. The monsters of Egypt often resided in this threshold between day and night, between light and shadow, appearing in stories told around fires or whispered in sacred spaces. The calm, meditative observation of nature allowed the Egyptians to see both beauty and danger in every movement. The ripple of water, the flicker of a shadow, the sudden call of a distant bird, providing endless inspiration for their myths. Rivers, deserts, cliffs, and tombs were not merely backdrops. They were characters in the stories themselves. The Nile could protect or endanger. The desert could conceal or reveal. The tombs could safeguard or trap. Monsters, in many ways, were the living reflections of these environments. A serpent rising from the river, a lioness emerging from the sand, or a spectral creature haunting a tomb corridor all echoed the realities of the land, amplified by imagination. These myths helped people make sense of their surroundings, teaching lessons of caution, respect, and reverence, while also allowing for awe and wonder. As we continue our journey, imagine walking slowly along the Nile at twilight. The water moves silently, carrying whispers of the past. The desert stretches in golden waves to the horizon, and shadows stretch long across the sand. Perhaps in the distance, a figure emerges, half animal, half dream, reminding you that the world of the Egyptians was never just physical. Every rock, every reed, every ripple of the river could inspire stories of beings both terrifying and wise, creatures whose presence was felt even when unseen. The landscape itself becomes a storyteller, shaping the monsters that will inhabit the myths we are about to explore. In this calm observation of Egypt's rivers, sands, and hidden corners, we begin to understand why the monsters of this ancient civilization feel both foreign and familiar. They are born from a land that is alive with beauty and danger, a civilization that respected both life and death, and a people who found lessons and wonder in every shadow. By seeing the environment through the eyes of the Egyptians, we prepare ourselves to enter the stories of their monsters, not as victims of fear, but as quiet observers of imagination, stepping gently into a world where myth and reality coexist in soft harmony. As we continue to wander through the quiet landscapes of ancient Egypt, it becomes clear that the monsters of their myths were more than frightening shapes or tales told to scare children. They were reflections, mirrors of the human experience, capturing the hopes, anxieties, and moral understandings of a civilization deeply attuned to both the seen and unseen worlds. In Egypt, life was unpredictable. Rivers could flood unexpectedly, deserts could swallow travelers, and illness or misfortune could arrive without warning. To navigate this uncertainty, the Egyptians gave form to fear itself, shaping it into creatures whose stories served as guidance, warning, and sometimes even comfort. By exploring these monsters, we begin to glimpse the inner workings of the Egyptian mind, the ways in which imagination, religion, and survival intertwined. Monsters were not merely embodiments of evil or chaos. They were teachers and guardians of cosmic order. In a society where morality was governed by Ma'at, the principle of truth, balance, and justice, the stories of fearsome beings often reinforced lessons about right and wrong. The devourer Ammit, for example, awaited unworthy souls in the afterlife, reminding individuals that actions in life carried consequences beyond the mortal realm. A serpent like Apep, striking against Ra's solar bark, symbolized the perpetual battle between order and chaos, light and darkness. Even in their terrifying forms, these monsters provided a framework for understanding the world, encouraging reflection, mindfulness, and respect for forces greater than oneself. In this way, fear was not just a sensation to be avoided. It was a tool for growth, a language through which the Egyptians communicated with the unseen. Consider for a moment the gentle ebb and flow of fear in daily life. The Egyptians observed animals that could harm or defend. They noticed the unpredictable currents of the Nile, and they understood the fragility of human life in the face of natural and divine forces. Monsters, then, were natural extensions of these observations, woven into myth as hybrids of known and imagined creatures. A lion's strength combined with a serpent's cunning, a bird's grace fused with a human's gaze. All these combinations amplified real-world dangers into forms that the mind could grasp and contemplate. In the quiet of the evening, when stories were told beside flickering fires, these images lingered in consciousness, shaping understanding and imagination alike. The psychological role of monsters in Egypt was subtle and profound. They served as a safe means to confront fear. A child listening to tales of nightmarish creatures in the shadow of a temple or by the riverbank could explore the boundaries of terror without ever leaving the comfort of their home or camp. Adults, too, engaged with these stories in rituals, prayers, and ceremonies, finding in the narrative a way to reconcile the unpredictability of life with the structure of religious belief. By framing monsters as both dangerous and purposeful, the Egyptians created a mental space where fear could be observed, understood, and integrated into daily experience, rather than avoided entirely. The contrast between familiarity and the unknown is central to this dynamic. Monsters often combine the recognizable with the alien, grounding fear in something comprehensible while simultaneously challenging perception. A crocodile was known and feared along the Nile, but imagine it with the eyes of a human or the wings of a bird. Suddenly, the familiar becomes uncanny, an image that captures attention while encouraging reflection. This deliberate tension between what is known and what is imagined allows the mind to engage in quiet, meditative contemplation, exactly the type of mental space conducive to the calming exploration of mythology for sleep and relaxation. In addition to teaching lessons, monsters offered a kind of storytelling rhythm that matched the flow of daily life. The Egyptians observed cycles in nature, the rising and setting of the sun, the annual flooding of the Nile, and the movement of stars across the night sky. Their myths mirrored these patterns, with monsters emerging, struggling, and sometimes being defeated in ways that echoed the cycles of day and night, life and death, chaos and order. Listening to these stories gently prepares the mind for understanding patterns, rhythm, and flow, all essential for relaxation and the quiet focus needed before sleep. Monsters also served as cultural memory, preserving values, beliefs, and societal norms across generations. When priests and storytellers depicted creatures in tombs, temples, and sacred scrolls, they were encoding lessons, warnings, and guidance in ways that could be absorbed over time. The fear elicited by these beings was never purely for shock. It was structured, deliberate, and imbued with meaning. In this sense, monsters acted as both mirrors and teachers, reflecting human concern while simultaneously shaping behavior, morality, and understanding. As we prepare to meet specific monsters in the coming sections, it is useful to keep this framework in mind. Each creature has a story, a purpose, and a symbolic resonance. Some are guardians, others are predators, and some exist as enigmatic forces, neither entirely good nor entirely evil. The monsters of ancient Egypt teach us about fear, yes, but they also teach us about perspective, imagination, and the human capacity to create order from uncertainty. They invite the observer to move slowly, to notice subtle details, and to appreciate the layers of meaning that lie beneath every scale, wing, or fawn. In this calm, reflective exploration, we are not rushing toward terror. We are, instead, walking slowly alongside the thoughts and dreams of a people who lived thousands of years ago, learning from the forms they imagined, the fears they embodied, and the stories they told to navigate both life and death. Monsters, in this sense, are more than creatures. They are guides through shadowed corridors of thought, companions in quiet contemplation, and, ultimately, reflections of ourselves as we face the unknown. As our journey takes us deeper into the shadowed realms of ancient Egypt, we encounter one of the most fearsome and iconic monsters, Apep, the great serpent of chaos. Imagine a creature so vast that its coils could span the horizon, its scales glistening with the darkness of night, and its eyes glowing with a deep, unsettling malice. Apep is no ordinary beast. It is the embodiment of chaos itself, a force opposed to order, light, and life. In the nightly journey of the sun god Ra across the sky, Apep waits in the depths of the underworld, eager to halt the passage of day into night, to consume the light, and to plunge the world into eternal darkness. Apep's myth is both terrifying and mesmerizing. Each night, as Ra sets sail in his solar bark, Apep rises from the primordial waters, striking at the divine vessel with twisting, powerful coils. The struggle is not just physical but symbolic, a battle between light and shadow, order and disorder, life and the encroaching void. Ancient Egyptians watched the stars and observed natural phenomena, and in these observations, they saw reflections of this cosmic struggle. Storms, eclipses, and other inexplicable events were often attributed to Apep's interference, reminding people of the ever-present tension between the known and the unknown, the safe and the dangerous. The rituals performed to keep Apep at bay were intricate and deliberate, reflecting the Egyptians' desire to maintain harmony in both the physical and spiritual realms. Priests would chant, perform ceremonies, and use elaborate symbolic gestures to subdue the serpent, often depicting Apep on papyri or temple walls with ropes and knives, restrained by divine authority. These actions were more than superstition. They were meditative exercises, deliberate and rhythmic, designed to align human thought with cosmic order. In the quiet of temple chambers, with the soft crackle of oil lamps and the low murmur of chants, the Egyptians confronted their fears through ritual, converting potential terror into structured understanding. Apep's form was not random. It was imbued with meaning. Serpents were creatures of duality in Egyptian culture, representing danger and protection, death and regeneration. Yet Apep was exclusively associated with destruction, a reminder of the fragility of life and the constant presence of chaos. Its immense size and insatiable hunger made it an almost abstract symbol of threat, something that could never be fully conquered, only managed, resisted, and contained. In the stories, this eternal struggle emphasizes a delicate balance. No force, however monstrous, is completely beyond control when faced with order, wisdom, and persistence. Despite its terrifying nature, Apep's story is not meant to provoke panic. The narrative is structured, predictable, and deeply symbolic, allowing the listener to engage with fear safely, much like observing shadows from a distance without being engulfed by them. The repetition of Ra's nightly battle provides rhythm and reassurance. Each night, despite Apep's attacks, the sun rises again, and the world continues its cycle. This pattern mirrors the human experience, illustrating that even when chaos seems overwhelming, order and light ultimately return. For those listening in a calm space, this repetition can be soothing, as it reinforces the natural rhythms of life, death, and rebirth, subtly aligning with the patterns of sleep and relaxation. In visual depictions, Apep is often shown as a coiling, sinuous serpent, enormous in scale, with a mouth wide enough to swallow the sun itself. Its imagery is intentionally unsettling, with sharp fangs and an undulating form that seems almost alive, even on a static surface. Temple walls, ritual scrolls, and tomb illustrations all capture Apep in dynamic motion, engaging viewers in the eternal struggle between chaos and order. By meditating on these images in imagination, one begins to appreciate the artistry, symbolism, and subtle psychological effects embedded in the myth, understanding fear as both a narrative tool and a reflection of deeper cosmic principles. Apep also serves as a reminder that monsters in Egyptian mythology were never entirely external threats. They were often extensions of human perception and societal understanding. In observing and depicting Apep, the Egyptians acknowledged the unpredictability of nature, the dangers of the world, and the existential challenges that humans face. Yet, through ritual, story, and art, they could assert a form of control, demonstrating that knowledge, mindfulness, and moral integrity were shields against even the most overwhelming forces. This interplay between terror and order, chaos and harmony, provides a unique lens through which to view the Egyptians' relationship with monsters, not as enemies to destroy, but as teachers and markers of life's delicate balance. As we allow the image of Apep to settle in our minds, we notice the subtle tension it creates. There is awe in imagining such a vast, powerful creature, yet there is comfort in understanding the structured myth that surrounds it. The serpent may coil and strike in stories, but it does not dominate without resistance. Ra's solar bark, guided by divine authority, ensures the continuity of life, a gentle reassurance that even the most fearsome monsters are part of a cycle, part of a universe where chaos exists but is never absolute. In the quiet of contemplation, Apep becomes less a source of terror and more a symbol of vigilance, balance, and respect for forces beyond our immediate perception. Tonight, as we continue our journey into the realm of ancient Egyptian monsters, Apep stands as the first major figure, a cosmic sentinel of fear and order intertwined. By observing its story with calm attention, we prepare ourselves for the creatures yet to come, each with its own lessons, symbolism, and subtle ways of engaging the imagination. In this gentle exploration, fear transforms into fascination, and the shadowed corners of Egyptian mythology open before us as landscapes of thought, reflection, and quiet wonder. As we continue to drift through the shadowed corridors of ancient Egyptian mythology, we encounter a creature whose presence evokes both fear and reflection, Ammit, the devourer of the dead. Imagine a being with the head of a crocodile, the torso of a lion, and the hindquarters of a hippopotamus, three of the most dangerous and powerful animals known to the Egyptians. Each part of Amit's form embodies threat, strength, and the raw force of nature. Yet, unlike the chaotic Apep, Amit's terror is measured, deliberate, and deeply symbolic. It waits not in the realm of the living but at the threshold of the afterlife, poised to judge the souls of those who have passed beyond mortal life, consuming only those deemed unworthy. Amit resides in the Hall of Two Truths, alongside the scales of Ma'at, the goddess of truth and cosmic order. Here, the heart of the deceased is weighed against a feather, symbolizing purity, justice, and balance. Those who have lived in harmony with Ma'at see their hearts pass the scale, allowing their journey into the afterlife to continue peacefully. But for those whose hearts are heavy with wrongdoing, deceit, or cruelty, Amit awakens. Her jaws open wide, and she consumes the heart, erasing the soul from existence, leaving only emptiness in her wake. The concept is chilling yet purposeful, a reminder that actions in life carry consequences beyond the physical realm. The psychological impact of Amit is profound, even when considered in calm reflection. For the Egyptians, her presence was not meant to terrify senselessly, but to instill mindfulness, encouraging each individual to act with integrity, respect, and fairness. In the quiet contemplation of her myth, one can sense both the danger she represents and the balance she upholds. She is not capricious. She does not strike indiscriminately. Instead, she embodies a principle, the inescapable truth that justice is impartial and that moral accountability is woven into the fabric of the universe. This balance between fear and understanding forms a gentle rhythm in storytelling, offering tension while guiding the listener toward reflection and calm engagement with the narrative. Amit's form, combining crocodile, lion, and hippopotamus, is no accident. Each animal carries deep symbolic weight in Egyptian thought. The crocodile, lurking in the Nile, embodies patience, danger, and the hidden threats of water. The lion, king of the beasts, represents strength, dominance, and the power to enforce order. The hippopotamus, large and unpredictable, signifies both chaos and fertility, a reminder of the duality of life itself. In uniting these forms, Amit becomes an avatar of judgment that is at once terrifying and instructive, a creature whose very presence encourages meditation on life, morality, and the cycles of existence. In temples and funerary texts, Amit is depicted waiting patiently, her form tense yet controlled, embodying the principle that justice is measured and inevitable. The illustrations are deliberately stark, with little embellishment, focusing on the essence of her power rather than unnecessary detail. Through these images, the Egyptians convey that fear need not be sudden or overwhelming to be effective. Calm observation, understanding, and respect for cosmic order are sufficient to guide behavior and thought. In this way, Amit becomes more than a monster. She is a quiet teacher, an emblem of reflection, and a companion in contemplation of life and death. The role of Amit extends beyond judgment into the broader spiritual journey of the soul. In a culture that revered the afterlife, preparation for death was meticulous, involving rituals, prayers, and adherence to moral principles. Amit's presence in these stories underscores the importance of living with integrity, not merely for earthly benefit, but for eternal peace. The knowledge of her watchful gaze encourages gentle mindfulness, creating a bridge between fear and reassurance. It is a fear tempered by understanding, a terror contained within order, much like the calm recognition of night falling after a long day, where darkness is present but not overwhelming. Listening to the story of Amit in a quiet space, one can feel the rhythm of ancient Egyptian thought unfold slowly, like a river winding through desert sands. There is a pause before the scales tip, a moment of stillness as the heart is weighed, and a tension that never fully escalates into panic. This deliberate pacing is crucial for immersive storytelling intended for relaxation or sleep. It allows the imagination to wander, to visualize the hall, the scales, and Amit herself, while maintaining a gentle, contemplative engagement with the narrative. The fear becomes a tool for calm focus rather than agitation, a soft shadow that lingers just long enough to provoke thought without disturbing tranquility. Amit's myth also emphasizes the interconnection between morality, nature, and divine order. The Egyptians observed the cycles of the Nile, the changing of seasons, and the patterns of celestial bodies, and they understood that balance is inherent in the world. Amit embodies this balance in the spiritual realm, enforcing a natural law that mirrors the order of the universe. By contemplating her story, we see that monsters in ancient Egyptian mythology often serve as extensions of reality, not just fantasy. They are reminders of the forces that shape existence, guiding humans to live in harmony with both the seen and unseen, the known and the mysterious. As we prepare to move on to other monsters, it is important to note that Amit's terror is purposeful and instructive rather than chaotic or overwhelming. She reminds us that life carries consequences, that morality matters, and that the journey beyond death is intertwined with the choices made in life. In the calm reflection of her story, we can appreciate the subtle balance of fear and reassurance, the gentle rhythm of myth that encourages mindfulness, and the way in which imagination gives form to complex truths. She is both a shadow and a guide, a presence that teaches without urgency, embodying the measured pace of ancient Egyptian storytelling. Tonight, as we leave Amit to her eternal vigil in the Hall of Two Truths, we carry with us a sense of quiet respect for the intricate morality and imagination of the Egyptians. Her story prepares us for the next creatures we will meet, reminding us that monsters are not only objects of fear, but also windows into understanding, mirrors reflecting the balance between life and death, chaos and order, action and consequence. In this gentle exploration, terror transforms into fascination, and reflection becomes a companion, allowing the mind to wander slowly through the shadowed realms of myth, curiosity, and imagination. As our journey through the shadowed myths of ancient Egypt continues, we meet a creature both awe-inspiring and terrifying, Sekhmet, the fierce lioness goddess of war, destruction, and divine retribution. Imagine a being with the body of a woman and the head of a lion, eyes blazing with fire, mane radiant like the sun, and every movement filled with power, grace, and authority. Sekhmet is both beautiful and terrifying, embodying the duality of nature. She can protect and heal, but she can also punish and annihilate. In Egyptian mythology, she was feared not for capricious cruelty, but because she represented the intense, unyielding force of justice and divine order, a presence that demanded respect and awe. Sekhmet's stories are both dramatic and cautionary. One of the most famous myths recounts her rampage across the earth at Ra's command, unleashed to punish humanity for their disobedience and rebellion. Her fury was unstoppable, her thirst for justice absolute, and yet even this wrath carried purpose. Sekhmet's violence was measured in the cosmic sense. It was not personal, but a reflection of imbalance that had to be corrected. This understanding transforms fear into contemplation. We are invited not merely to dread her power, but to consider the principles she embodies: balance, accountability, and the disciplined force that maintains harmony in a complex world. The lioness itself held deep symbolism for the Egyptians. Lions were predators, rulers of the land, and embodiments of strength, courage, and protection. By merging human and lion forms, Sekhmet became a bridge between mortal perception and divine action, a reminder that power, when guided by wisdom and order, could serve both creation and judgment. Her presence is a study in contrasts. She is feared yet revered, destructive yet protective, terrifying yet beautiful. In visualizing Sekhmet, one can sense this delicate tension, the way her gaze can calm and unsettle simultaneously, her movements both lethal and purposeful, her roar echoing through both myth and imagination. Temples and shrines dedicated to Sekhmet often emphasized her dual nature. Statues show her seated regally, poised and attentive, or striding forward with the intensity of a predator on the hunt. Rituals and offerings were performed to appease her, to harness her protective power, and to prevent her destructive wrath from overwhelming the living. Priests would chant prayers, present libations, and conduct ceremonial dances, all carefully orchestrated to honor her presence while acknowledging her fearsome power. In these actions, the Egyptians found a rhythm that mirrored the natural and spiritual order, structured, deliberate, and calming in its repetition, much like the patterns of day and night, the flow of the Nile, and the quiet cycles of life itself. Sekhmet's myth extends beyond punishment into healing and protection. She was also known as a goddess who could avert plagues, cure illness, and provide safety to those who respected her authority. This duality makes her especially fascinating. She is not purely a figure of terror, but also of balance and restoration. Her story reminds us that power, when guided by principles, can serve multiple purposes. In contemplating her myth slowly, one begins to understand the Egyptians' nuanced approach to fear. Terror was not an end in itself, but a tool for understanding, reflection, and the maintenance of cosmic harmony. In imagining Sekhmet in the quiet of a desert evening, one can picture her striding along the horizon, her golden mane catching the last rays of the sun, eyes steady and unwavering. The wind stirs the sands around her paws, and in that stillness, there is both tension and beauty. This imagery allows the mind to explore the balance of power and grace, strength and wisdom, without feeling rushed or alarmed. Sekhmet becomes a guide, leading the imagination through ideas of justice, discipline, and divine order, all while maintaining a slow, gentle rhythm suited for relaxation and reflection. The duality of Sekhmet also reflects the human experience. Just as life can bring moments of challenge and trial, so too can it bring protection, guidance, and reassurance. By embodying both destructive and nurturing forces, Sekhmet mirrors the delicate interplay of fear and safety, chaos and order in our own minds. Her myth encourages mindfulness, the recognition of consequences, and the understanding that power, whether divine, natural, or personal, requires respect and responsibility. In this way, fear is transformed into a contemplative companion, and the imagination can wander through her stories without feeling overwhelmed. Temples, hieroglyphs, and sacred texts present Sekhmet with both majesty and intensity, offering viewers a way to meditate on her myth. Her roar, her gaze, and her poised stance all convey authority without haste, demanding attention through presence rather than sudden movement. This slow, deliberate presentation is key to the calming storytelling of ancient Egyptian monsters. The listener is invited to observe, to reflect, and to engage with the narrative at a gentle pace, allowing the mind to absorb both awe and reassurance simultaneously. Tonight, as we leave Sekhmet standing sentinel across the golden sands, we carry with us a sense of balance between fear and respect, destruction and protection. She is a reminder that the monsters of ancient Egypt are never simple or one-dimensional. They are reflections of complex principles, guides to understanding the rhythms of life, and companions in meditation and contemplation. Her myth sets the stage for the next creatures we will encounter, each with their own lessons, forms, and gentle ways of engaging the imagination. In the soft hush of night, as the desert cools and shadows stretch long across the sands, we let Sekhmet's presence linger in thought, not as a source of terror, but as a symbol of order, strength, and the measured power that maintains balance in both myth and mind. Her story encourages the listener to move slowly, breathe deeply, and prepare for the creatures yet to come, keeping the rhythm of calm fascination, gentle tension, and immersive reflection that guides this journey through the monsters of ancient Egypt. As our journey through the shadowed myths of ancient Egypt continues, we encounter a creature of a very different nature, a being both mysterious and beautiful, the Bennu bird, often regarded as the harbinger of transformation and renewal. Imagine a bird perched atop a golden pedestal, its feathers shimmering in shades of violet and gold, with a presence that feels both ethereal and majestic. Unlike the terrifying monsters we have met, the Bennu is not a predator, nor does it devour or destroy. Instead, it symbolizes the cycles of life, death, and rebirth, carrying with it a sense of calm, wonder, and quiet reflection. Its appearance in myth serves as a gentle counterpoint to fearsome creatures, offering insight into the regenerative and transformative powers that the Egyptians deeply revered. The Bennu bird is closely associated with the sun, rising in synchronization with the dawn to herald the renewal of the day. Its flight mirrors the journey of Ra, the sun god, across the sky, symbolizing the eternal rhythm of time and the constant renewal of life. In this sense, The Bennu embodies hope and the possibility of transformation, even in the face of endings. It reminds the listener that cycles of destruction, judgment, or challenge, such as those represented by monsters like Apep or Amit, are part of a larger continuum, and that renewal always follows the night. In the calm contemplation of the Bennu, the imagination is invited to drift gently, visualizing the continuity of life and the subtle beauty of transitions, much like the soft passing of hours into sleep. In some interpretations, the Bennu bird is considered the inspiration for the later concept of the phoenix. Like the phoenix, it is associated with rebirth and the regeneration of the soul. Its connection to the Nile and to sacred temples reinforces the idea that transformation is not only cosmic but also personal, tied to the rhythms of both nature and the human spirit. In quiet reflection, one can imagine the bird standing amidst reeds by the riverbank, its plumage catching the gentle light of early morning, singing softly as the world awakens. This serene imagery, full of grace and subtle motion, encourages relaxation while maintaining a sense of awe and wonder at the natural and spiritual order of Egypt. The Bennu's presence also highlights the Egyptians' fascination with balance and duality. Where fearsome monsters embody chaos, destruction, or judgment, the Bennu represents regeneration, continuity, and the resilience of life. It demonstrates that the mythological landscape of Egypt is not solely dark or terrifying. It is nuanced, reflecting the interplay of opposing forces. By juxtaposing monsters of destruction with beings of transformation, the Egyptians created a dynamic world in which the imagination could explore extremes safely and contemplatively. For those listening in a calm space, the Bennu's myth offers a gentle respite, a moment of reflection amidst tales of judgment and chaos. In artistic depictions, the Bennu is often portrayed as a heron or stork-like bird, standing tall with elegance, sometimes perched atop a sacred stone or altar. Its eyes are keen, observant, and filled with a serene intelligence. The Egyptians placed the Bennu in symbolic contexts that reinforced its role as a guide and marker of renewal, linking it to funerary practices and rituals of rebirth. By doing so, they emphasized that even death and endings could be viewed through a lens of hope and continuity. The Bennu invites the mind to imagine cycles not as something to fear, but as part of a natural, predictable rhythm, aligning perfectly with the meditative, sleep-friendly narrative we are unfolding. The story of the Bennu bird also emphasizes patience, reflection, and mindfulness. Its long, graceful flights and calm presence are antithetical to sudden fear or panic, teaching listeners that transformation is a gentle process, unfolding in its own time. In considering the Bennu, we are reminded that change, growth, and renewal require observation, quiet attention, and acceptance of natural rhythms. The bird's symbolism encourages viewers to move slowly, breathe deeply, and imagine the soft unfolding of events in their own lives, much as the Egyptians would have observed the cycles of the sun, stars, and river to guide their understanding of the world. Furthermore, the Bennu bird underscores the idea that monsters and mythical beings in Egypt were never one-dimensional. While some represent fear, chaos, or punishment, others embody principles that soothe, inspire, and provide guidance. The Bennu is a reminder that even within a landscape of terrifying creatures, there exists light, calm, and continuity. By visualizing its presence, we create a balance in the imagination, a delicate interplay between caution, reflection, and hope. This balance is key to the immersive storytelling style that allows myths to relax, not agitate, the listener, fostering both fascination and calm in equal measure. As we allow the image of the Bennu bird to settle in our minds, we notice the subtle reassurance it brings. The cycles of night and day, life and death, fear and safety, all continue regardless of human intervention, and yet, within this continuity, there is guidance, structure, and a promise of renewal. The Bennu reminds us that transformation is natural, inevitable, and often beautiful. Its soft presence prepares us for the continued journey through Egypt's mythological landscape, where monsters and mystical beings alike offer lessons, reflections, and gentle engagements for the imagination. Tonight, as the Bennu rises into the quiet sky of our imagined Egypt. Its plumage catching the soft glow of a distant sun, we carry forward a sense of calm, renewal, and attentive wonder. It stands as a gentle companion among the darker creatures of myth, guiding our thoughts with grace and quiet wisdom. By embracing both the terrifying and the transformative, we enter the full richness of the Egyptian imagination, ready to explore the uncanny, unusual, and mysterious creatures that await us in the sections to come. As we continue to traverse the mystical landscapes of ancient Egypt, we encounter one of the most curious and enigmatic creatures of their mythology, the serpopard. Imagine a creature with the sleek body of a leopard, its spotted fur blending seamlessly with the shadows of the desert, and a long, sinuous neck reminiscent of a serpent, twisting and turning with fluid grace. This hybrid being embodies both familiarity and strangeness, a combination that captures the imagination while maintaining a subtle tension that is perfect for slow, meditative reflection. The serpopard is not merely a monster of terror, but a symbol of mystery, balance, and the delicate interplay between the known and the unknown in Egyptian thought. Serpopards are often depicted in ancient art as intertwined creatures, their long necks coiling around one another, forming patterns that are almost hypnotic in their symmetry. They appear on ceremonial palettes, temple carvings, and decorative objects, where they serve as both guardians and symbolic markers of cosmic order. In some interpretations, the serpopards are associated with the forces of chaos, yet unlike a pep, their danger is contained and balanced, presented more as a challenge to perception than a threat to life. Their strange, intertwined forms suggest the weaving of worlds, where the boundaries between predator and serpent, land and sky, reality and imagination, are fluid. Observing these creatures, even in one's mind, encourages careful attention, contemplation, and a gentle engagement with the mysteries of existence. The symbolism of the serpopard is deeply tied to its dual nature. The leopard represents strength, agility, and ferocity, a grounded presence in the animal kingdom. The serpent, on the other hand, evokes mystery, transformation, and the unseen forces of nature. By combining these forms, the Egyptians created a creature that is both familiar and fantastical, a being that embodies duality in a way that encourages reflection rather than immediate fear. In the soft cadence of storytelling, the serpopard becomes an invitation to explore contradictions, beauty and danger, order and chaos, the predictable and the unknowable, all without haste or alarm. In ceremonial contexts, serpopards were often portrayed as protective forces, their long necks forming loops and circles that symbolize infinity, continuity, and the eternal cycles of life. These forms are not arbitrary. They reflect the Egyptians' fascination with patterns, balance, and the underlying structures of the cosmos. The intertwining necks suggest both connection and tension, illustrating that duality exists in harmony, not in opposition. For the listener in a calm space, this imagery is mesmerizing, offering a gentle, rhythmic visualization that aligns with meditative contemplation and prepares the mind for relaxation. Beyond symbolism, serpopards embody the Egyptians' imaginative approach to storytelling. They demonstrate a willingness to blend reality with fantasy, to take familiar elements and transform them into something extraordinary. In a quiet setting, one can picture a serpopard stalking the edge of the Nile at dusk, its spotted body melting into the reeds, its serpentine neck twisting gracefully as it surveys the waters. There is tension in its movement, yet a measured grace that invites curiosity rather than alarm. Its hybrid form encourages the mind to consider the interconnectedness of life, the blending of traits and qualities, and the ways in which imagination can expand understanding of the natural world. The duality of the serpopard also reflects a psychological principle, that fear and fascination can coexist safely in the mind when guided by structure and story. Unlike creatures designed purely to terrify, the serpopard's presence encourages reflection, observation, and measured attention. Its unusual form captures the imagination while maintaining a gentle rhythm, allowing the listener to engage with complexity without being overwhelmed. This balance is essential in the style of storytelling we are following, a calm, immersive exploration that provides both mental stimulation and a sense of relaxation. In some interpretations, serpopards are seen as symbolic guardians, protecting sacred spaces and maintaining boundaries between the human and divine, the known and unknown. Their presence in temple carvings and ceremonial objects underscores their role as intermediaries between worlds. They are neither wholly benevolent nor malicious. Instead, they exist as markers of awareness, reminding viewers to observe carefully, act mindfully, and respect the unseen forces that shape existence. By contemplating these creatures in a calm setting, we begin to appreciate how fear, curiosity, and reflection were woven together in Egyptian mythology to create a rich, multifaceted narrative landscape. The visual composition of serpopards, often intertwined in circular or looping patterns, can also be likened to the gentle motions of waves, clouds, or shifting sand. Their sinuous forms invite the mind to trace paths slowly, following lines of imagination that twist and curve with fluidity. This meditative visualization is not merely aesthetic. It mirrors the rhythm of calm breathing, the flow of thought, and the gradual transition into a reflective state conducive to sleep or relaxation. Observing the serpopard in this way, the listener experiences a harmonious interplay of curiosity, mild tension, and tranquility, perfectly suited to the gentle storytelling of ancient Egyptian mythology. Tonight, as we leave the serpopards coiling gracefully along the banks of the Nile in our imagination, we carry forward an appreciation for the Egyptians' ability to balance the familiar with the fantastical, fear with fascination, and structure with creativity. These creatures, while strange and enigmatic, are gentle companions for the mind, guiding reflection and imagination without urgency. They provide a bridge between the terrifying and the transformative, preparing us for the next creatures in our journey through the monsters and mystical beings of ancient Egypt. In the soft hush of night, as the desert cools and shadows stretch long across the sands, we let the serpopards' entwined forms linger in thought. Their hybrid bodies remind us that even in the world of monsters, there is elegance, rhythm, and pattern, elements that soothe the imagination and cultivate a calm, meditative awareness. By embracing both the unusual and the familiar, we continue to explore ancient Egyptian mythology in a way that nurtures curiosity, reflection, and gentle engagement with the mind's creative and contemplative faculties. As our journey into the shadowed myths of ancient Egypt continues, we now step into the silent, solemn world of the underworld, where the dead are guided, protected, and judged. Among the many beings that dwell in this realm, one figure stands as both guardian and guide: Anubis, the jackal-headed god of embalming, funerary rites, and the afterlife. Imagine a being with the sleek, black head of a jackal, its eyes alert and calm, its posture attentive and deliberate, moving silently through tombs and sacred corridors. Anubis embodies both vigilance and compassion, a protector who oversees the delicate journey from life to death with careful precision, ensuring that souls are guided safely through the shadowed thresholds of the afterlife. Anubis' role in Egyptian mythology is multifaceted. He is not a monster of terror like Apep, nor a devourer like Ammit. Instead, he functions as a guide, a guardian, and an observer of moral order. In the rituals of embalming and mummification, Anubis is central, overseeing the preparation of bodies so that the soul may transition safely into the afterlife. The Egyptians believed that the correct performance of these rites was essential to maintain cosmic balance, and Anubis' presence symbolizes the meticulous care required to honor the dead. By contemplating his calm, watchful nature, one can begin to appreciate the Egyptian understanding of death not as an abrupt end, but as a carefully navigated passage, one that demands respect, order, and reflection. The iconography of Anubis reinforces his role as a protector. His black fur, reminiscent of the fertile Nile silt, symbolizes regeneration, renewal, and the potential for life beyond death. His jackal head is not only emblematic of his vigilant nature, but also connects him to creatures that roam the desert and cemetery landscapes, creatures associated with both scavenging and survival. In quiet meditation, one can visualize Anubis moving through shadowed tombs, guiding souls past dangers, ensuring that each step is deliberate and precise. The tension in these myths is subtle, never sudden, allowing the mind to engage with the story in a calm, reflective manner suitable for relaxation and sleep. Anubis' responsibilities extend to the famous weighing of the heart ceremony, where the deceased's heart is measured against the feather of Ma'at. In this moment, Anubis presides with impartial attention, ensuring that the scales reflect the truth. It is here that he intersects symbolically with Ammit, standing vigilant and composed as judgment unfolds. Unlike Ammit, however, Anubis does not act with appetite or wrath. He facilitates order, oversees fairness, and preserves cosmic balance. In visualizing this scene slowly, one can sense the rhythm of Egyptian mythology: calm observation, measured action, and the gentle interplay of judgment and protection, all unfolding in a deliberate, soothing cadence. The underworld is not empty, however. Alongside Anubis, numerous lesser guardians, spirits, and protective entities populate the shadowed realm, ensuring that sacred boundaries are maintained and that malevolent forces are kept at bay. These beings, often depicted in hieroglyphs and temple carvings, embody vigilance, restraint, and the principle that even in darkness, order can prevail. The Egyptians believed that guidance and protection were essential, as the soul's journey was fraught with challenges, uncertainties, and potential threats. By imagining these guardians in their silent vigil, the listener can engage with a sense of calm security, visualizing a world where darkness is neither chaotic nor overwhelming, but carefully observed and regulated. Anubis' quiet authority also serves a psychological purpose. In contemplating a guardian who observes without haste, one learns patience, mindfulness, and the value of measured attention. Fear is present, yes, in the potential dangers of the underworld, but it is tempered by the presence of guidance and protection. The mind can wander safely through tombs, corridors, and shadowed chambers, exploring the mysteries of death and the afterlife without panic. This balance between tension and reassurance is central to the immersive, bedtime-style storytelling of Egyptian mythology, a slow exploration that engages curiosity while maintaining calm. The symbolism of Anubis and the underworld guardians extends beyond death itself. They represent the careful stewardship of transitions, the attentiveness required in moments of uncertainty, and the potential for guidance when navigating unknown territories. In many ways, these myths mirror the inner workings of the mind. Moments of fear, uncertainty, or doubt can be met with patience, observation, and structured guidance, allowing one to move through challenging mental landscapes with calm and reflection. The Egyptians, through the imagery of Anubis and his fellow guardians, provided a model for facing the unknown with respect, diligence, and composure. In artistic depictions, Anubis is often shown attending the deceased, performing ritualistic gestures, or standing by the scales with poised alertness. His demeanor is never frantic. It is deliberate, controlled, and imbued with a quiet authority. These images invite the mind to slow, to follow the deliberate motion of myth, and to engage with the story as a reflective, meditative process. The listener can imagine the soft echo of footsteps in empty tombs, the flicker of torchlight on carved walls, and the serene vigilance of Anubis as he fulfills his sacred duties. In this immersive visualization, fear is softened, curiosity is stimulated, and the imagination drifts gently along the narrative's calm, steady rhythm. By contemplating Anubis and the underworld guardians, we gain insight into the Egyptians' sophisticated understanding of death, morality, and protection. Monsters in this context are not merely objects of terror. They are guides, teachers, and markers of cosmic and moral order. The presence of guardians reassures the soul and the listener alike, offering a sense of balance in the face of shadowed mysteries. Through this calm, deliberate engagement, the mind can explore the interplay of fear, vigilance, and guidance, and emerge with a gentle understanding of both the myths themselves and the principles they convey. Tonight, as we leave the underworld and its vigilant guardians, we carry forward a sense of quiet respect and attentive observation. Anubis and his companions remind us that even in shadow, there is structure, guidance, and protection. Their presence allows us to move slowly, breathe deeply, and contemplate the mysteries of life, death, and morality in a calm, reflective manner. As we continue our journey into the monsters and mystical beings of ancient Egypt, we are prepared to meet the next figures, creatures whose lessons, symbolism, and gentle tension will continue to enrich our understanding and engagement with this timeless mythology. As our exploration of ancient Egyptian monsters continues, we now turn to a creature both strange and mesmerizing, the amphisbaena, the two-headed serpent. Imagine a snake with a head at each end, moving in smooth, undulating motions, its dual gaze observing the world simultaneously from two perspectives. Unlike the more fearsome and destructive beings we have encountered, the amphisbaena evokes curiosity alongside caution. Its duality makes it both unpredictable and fascinating, a perfect example of how the Egyptians used hybrid forms to explore complex ideas, to reflect on the nature of life and perception, and to captivate the imagination in a slow, deliberate, and meditative manner. The amphisbaena is often associated with duality, balance, and the cyclical nature of life. Each head can see in opposite directions, embodying the notion of foresight and retrospection, the interplay between past and future, and the necessity of awareness in navigating challenges. This symbolic structure allowed the Egyptians to explore psychological concepts through myth, teaching that awareness, adaptability, and perception are crucial for survival, both in the natural world and in the spiritual or moral realms. In quiet contemplation, one can imagine the amphisbaena gliding across sand or along the Nile's banks, its two heads moving with synchronized grace, observing and measuring the environment, a living symbol of vigilance and dual awareness. Its form is unnerving, yet not overtly terrifying. Unlike the chaotic strikes of Apep or the devouring hunger of Ammit, the amphisbaena's danger lies in its unpredictability and unusual structure. This subtle tension encourages careful observation rather than panic, allowing the listener to engage the imagination thoughtfully. Visualizing this creature in a calm space, one can trace the slow movement of its sinuous body, imagining the gentle shift of scales, the flicker of tongues tasting the air, and the simultaneous, mirrored awareness of its dual heads. This visualization promotes a slow, rhythmic engagement with the myth, which is particularly effective in meditative or sleep-oriented storytelling. In Egyptian art and iconography, two-headed serpents are often depicted intertwined, forming complex patterns that emphasize their duality and infinite potential. These patterns are not merely decorative. They are symbolic, reflecting the Egyptians' fascination with symmetry, balance, and the interweaving of opposing forces. The amphisbaena embodies the intersection of danger and order, strangeness and comprehension, reminding us that monsters in Egyptian mythology are rarely simple. Each form is carefully crafted to provoke thought, encourage reflection, and invite the imagination to engage in a slow, deliberate exploration of possibility and pattern. The dual heads also reflect an essential psychological principle, the importance of perspective. By imagining a creature capable of seeing in both directions at once, the listener is encouraged to consider multiple angles of a situation, to acknowledge complexity, and to remain attentive to subtle cues. The amphisbaena teaches patience, observation, and adaptability, qualities that were as valuable to the Egyptians as they are to us in modern life. In this way, the monster becomes less of a source of fear and more of a guide, a gentle companion in the quiet exploration of balance, vigilance, and awareness. The amphisbaena's symbolic nature extends into moral and cosmic principles as well. In a world where chaos, judgment, and protection coexist, a creature with two heads represents the necessity of constant vigilance and thoughtful consideration. It reminds listeners that the forces of the world, both seen and unseen, require attention and respect, and that navigating life successfully demands a balance between looking forward and reflecting on the past. In this gentle contemplation, fear transforms into curiosity, and imagination becomes a tool for understanding rather than a source of agitation. In storytelling for relaxation and sleep, the amphisbaena's presence provides a subtle rhythm. Its slow, undulating motion, the mirrored gaze of its two heads, and its quiet, watchful nature offer a hypnotic cadence for the mind to follow. Listeners can imagine tracing its movements, feeling the gentle rise and fall of its body, sensing the subtle tension inherent in its form, yet remaining calm in the knowledge that this creature, like all monsters in this journey, is symbolic, instructive, and ultimately safe within the realm of imagination. Tonight, as we leave the amphisbaena gliding through the imagined landscapes of Egypt, we carry forward lessons of duality, awareness, and reflection. Its unusual form reminds us that monsters need not evoke pure terror. They can teach, inspire, and guide contemplation. By visualizing its movement, observing its mirrored gaze, and reflecting on its symbolic meaning, we cultivate a gentle, immersive engagement with mythology that prepares the mind for calm, meditative focus. The amphisbaena serves as a bridge between curiosity and reflection, tension and tranquility, reminding us of the Egyptians' mastery in crafting creatures that educate, fascinate, and soothe simultaneously. In the quiet of our imagined world, the amphisbaena's sinuous form drifts along, a living emblem of balance and perspective. Its dual heads symbolize the continuous need to observe, understand, and adapt, whether in the realms of myth, nature, or human experience. By embracing this calm, deliberate encounter, we are prepared to continue our journey through the monsters and mystical beings of ancient Egypt, guided by imagination, reflection, and a gentle rhythm that encourages relaxation, curiosity, and deep engagement with the timeless stories we explore. As we continue our journey through the rich and shadowed world of ancient Egyptian mythology, we now encounter a creature that embodies protection, majesty, and quiet authority, the lamassu. Imagine a being with the powerful body of a lion or bull, the wings of a great bird, and the head of a wise and solemn human. These hybrid guardians are unlike the fearsome predators or devourers we have met. They are calm, imposing, and deeply symbolic. Their role is not to attack or devour, but to protect, to maintain boundaries, and to ensure that the spaces they guard remain secure. The lamassu represents the intersection of strength, wisdom, and vigilance, offering a sense of reassurance even as it inspires awe. The lamassu often stood at entrances, gates, and thresholds, both in temples and tombs, symbolically guarding the transition between worlds. They marked the boundary between the sacred and the mundane, between life and the afterlife, and between chaos and order. In these positions, their presence was deliberate and comforting. The Egyptians believed that the lamassu's watchful gaze could ward off evil, ensure order, and maintain harmony within sacred spaces. Imagining these guardians at the threshold of a temple or tomb, one can picture their wings spread in a protective arc, their human faces serene and attentive, their lion or bull bodies exuding strength and stability. This imagery creates a calm, reflective atmosphere, inviting the listener to feel both safety and quiet fascination. The symbolism of the lamassu extends beyond physical protection. Their human heads reflect intelligence, wisdom, and the ability to perceive beyond the immediate environment. Their animal bodies symbolize strength, courage, and resilience, while their wings suggest a connection to the divine and the ability to rise above earthly concerns. In combining these traits, the lamassu becomes a perfect embodiment of vigilance, a reminder that protection requires both awareness and power, both patience and the capacity to act when necessary. For the listener, this duality encourages gentle reflection on balance, responsibility, and the interplay between strength and insight in one's own life. In artistic depictions, lamassu are often shown in profile, with intricate detailing that emphasizes both their imposing stature and their serene demeanor. They appear calm, yet alert, their expressions conveying wisdom without menace. The wings, often carved with meticulous patterns, suggest motion, grace, and the potential to rise above danger. The Egyptians designed these depictions to be both awe-inspiring and reassuring, reinforcing the notion that protection does not always come through aggression, but through presence, vigilance, and careful attention. As we visualize a lamassu standing silently at a threshold, we can sense its power, its calm authority, and the subtle tension inherent in its watchfulness. a tension that is balanced by its serene, steady form. Lamassu also serve as a reminder of the Egyptians' understanding of thresholds and transitions. Just as the underworld requires guidance from Anubis and protection from Ammit, and the mortal world requires boundaries against chaos, thresholds in both the physical and spiritual realms require guardianship. The Lamassu symbolizes this need for vigilance at critical junctures, marking spaces of potential transformation, reflection, and passage. Imagining their presence can be calming, offering a sense of order and continuity as the mind moves through imagined spaces, from one realm of myth to another, or from wakefulness into the gentle progression toward sleep. The presence of the Lamassu also highlights the Egyptian emphasis on harmony and cosmic balance. These guardians are not solitary predators. They often appear in pairs, flanking entrances symmetrically, creating a visual and symbolic sense of stability. This balance is key to the meditative quality of their imagery. One can trace the symmetry with the eyes of the mind, follow the gentle curves of wings and the poised strength of their bodies, and feel a rhythmic reassurance in their protective stance. This deliberate, calming structure aligns perfectly with the immersive storytelling style we are following, emphasizing reflection, curiosity, and gentle engagement rather than sudden fright. The mythology of the Lamassu also encourages contemplation of the intersection between the human and the divine. Their human heads remind us of intelligence, discernment, and moral awareness, while their animal bodies connect us to the primal forces of nature. Their wings suggest transcendence, the ability to rise above mundane concerns and to see beyond immediate threats. By combining these qualities, the Lamassu offers a symbolic model for navigating challenges. With wisdom, strength, and elevated perspective, one can maintain balance and protection without succumbing to fear. In this way, the Lamassu becomes not only a guardian of physical thresholds, but also a guide for mental and emotional resilience. Imagining the Lamassu in a quiet, meditative space allows the listener to feel the steady pulse of calm authority. The soft echo of its hooves or paws on temple floors, the gentle flutter of its wings, and the serene gaze of its human face create a slow, rhythmic pattern that is both hypnotic and soothing. This imagery encourages the mind to settle, to focus gently on details, and to drift into a contemplative, reflective state, perfect for relaxation or sleep. The tension of their presence is never alarming. It is structured, deliberate, and reassuring, fostering a sense of safety even as it inspires fascination and awe. Tonight, as we leave the Lamassu standing silently at imagined thresholds, we carry forward a sense of calm, protection, and attentive awareness. Their presence reminds us that monsters and mythical creatures in ancient Egypt are not only objects of fear, they are guides, protectors, and symbols of balance. The Lamassu embodies the subtle power of vigilance, the harmony between strength and wisdom, and the serenity that comes from carefully observing and guarding what is sacred. In contemplating these winged guardians, we are prepared for the next creatures in our journey, ready to continue exploring the fascinating interplay of fear, reflection, and imagination in the myths of ancient Egypt. As our journey through the myths and monsters of ancient Egypt continues, we now encounter a creature small in size, but immense in symbolic power, the uraeus, the sacred cobra. Imagine a slender, coiled serpent, poised with a crown-like hood fanning gracefully above its head, its tongue flickering gently as it tastes the air. Though diminutive compared to the towering Lamassu or fearsome Ammit, the uraeus commands respect, embodying protection, authority, and the vigilant energy of royalty. It was a guardian of pharaohs, a symbol of divine authority, and a potent emblem of protection against chaos. In the gentle cadence of storytelling, the uraeus offers both fascination and reassurance, teaching that strength and guardianship can exist in forms both subtle and elegant. The uraeus is closely associated with the goddess Wadjet, the protective deity of Lower Egypt. Wadjet took the form of a rearing cobra, watching over kings and queens, their crowns adorned with her likeness as a symbol of her eternal vigilance. The Egyptians believed that the uraeus could strike at threats before they reached the wearer of the crown, ensuring safety and reinforcing divine authority. In quiet meditation, One can imagine the uraeus coiled atop a golden diadem, its sleek body tense yet controlled, eyes bright with alertness. Its presence is a reminder that protection often comes in subtle forms, requiring awareness, precision, and calm readiness rather than brute force. In funerary and temple art, the uraeus is depicted upright, poised to defend, a silent sentinel with a coiled body that symbolizes both potential energy and stability. Its hood, fanned wide, enhances its regal appearance, evoking both beauty and menace in balance. This duality is key. The uraeus is not inherently violent, but responds decisively to danger. In contemplating this, the listener is invited to reflect on the nature of vigilance, responsibility, and measured power, qualities that are as relevant in life and imagination as they were in the spiritual and political life of ancient Egypt. The symbolism of the uraeus extends beyond physical protection. It represents authority, divine legitimacy, and cosmic order. The cobra's upright posture mirrors the pharaoh's duty to maintain balance in the kingdom, to mediate between humans and gods, and to act as a conduit for cosmic stability. In this way, the uraeus serves as a bridge between the mortal and the divine, reminding us that even small, seemingly delicate creatures can embody profound power and influence. Visualizing the uraeus in a slow, measured narrative allows the listener to appreciate these layers of meaning, fostering curiosity and reflection while maintaining a calm, meditative pace. The dual nature of the uraeus, graceful yet ready to strike, reflects a recurring theme in Egyptian mythology, the balance of opposites. Just as monsters like Ammit combine elements of danger and order, or Lamassu combine strength and wisdom, the uraeus embodies both protection and latent threat. This duality encourages mindfulness, teaching that vigilance and patience often coexist, and that true power lies in restraint as much as in action. For listeners following a gentle storytelling rhythm, this duality creates subtle tension without alarm, engaging the imagination and maintaining a relaxing, contemplative atmosphere. The uraeus also illustrates the Egyptians' appreciation for symbolic precision. Its coiled form represents eternity and the cyclical nature of life, while its upright posture suggests readiness and authority. Its striking ability, should it be provoked, symbolizes the consequences of transgressing divine or cosmic law. By integrating these elements into a single creature, the Egyptians crafted a symbol that conveys layered meaning in a visually elegant and psychologically impactful way. For the mind exploring these myths in a calm, reflective space, the uraeus embodies the lesson that power, vigilance, and moral authority can coexist in harmony, without creating unnecessary fear or agitation. In imagining the uraeus in a quiet temple or on a pharaoh's crown, the listener can feel the subtle rhythm of its movement, the slight flick of its tongue, the gentle coil of its body, the measured tension in its poised posture. This visualization encourages slow observation, mindfulness, and a meditative engagement with the narrative. The cobra's presence is not sudden or chaotic. It is deliberate, calm, and controlled, creating a gentle tension that stimulates curiosity while promoting relaxation. It becomes a companion in contemplation, offering insight into vigilance, balance, and the intricate dance between protection and authority. The mythological significance of the uraeus extends beyond individual protection to the larger realm of divine and cosmic order. By safeguarding kings and sacred spaces, the uraeus ensures that stability is maintained, chaos is restrained, and cosmic balance endures. Its symbolism resonates with themes we have encountered throughout this journey: duality, vigilance, protection, and the measured use of power. By engaging with this symbolism slowly and reflectively, the listener gains a sense of continuity and connection, both to the stories themselves and to the underlying principles they convey. Tonight, as we leave the uraeus coiled atop its imagined crown, watching over sacred spaces and the mortal realm, we carry forward a sense of subtle vigilance, graceful authority, and quiet protection. This tiny yet powerful serpent reminds us that guardianship is not always loud or overwhelming. It can be elegant, measured, and deeply effective. In contemplating the uraeus, the listener experiences calm fascination, gentle tension, and reflective insight, a perfect combination for immersive, sleep-friendly storytelling. The Uraeus teaches us that protection, power, and balance can exist in forms both small and majestic, subtle and profound. Its myth encourages reflection on authority, vigilance, and the quiet strength required to maintain order in both the external world and the imagination. By engaging with this creature in a slow, deliberate rhythm, we prepare for the next monsters and mystical beings of ancient Egypt, ready to continue our exploration with calm curiosity, gentle fascination, and meditative focus. As we continue our exploration of ancient Egypt's mythological creatures, we now encounter Taaret, a goddess both nurturing and formidable, whose presence is intimately tied to life, protection, and fertility. Imagine a creature with the body of a hippopotamus, the limbs of a lion, the tail of a crocodile, and the nurturing essence of a devoted protector. Taaret may appear unusual or even intimidating at first glance, yet her mythology is deeply comforting. She embodies the delicate balance between strength and care, danger and guardianship, a theme that is central to the Egyptians' understanding of life, birth, and the cycles of existence. In storytelling for relaxation, Taaret represents a grounding, maternal energy that calms the imagination while inspiring gentle awe. Taaret's primary role was as a protector of mothers and children. She was often invoked during childbirth, ensuring the safety of both mother and newborn, guiding them through the potential perils of birth. Imagine her watching over a mother, her powerful body poised to defend against unseen threats, her gaze steady and reassuring, her presence radiating a sense of safety. The Egyptians believed that the birthing process, like the transition to the afterlife, was fraught with uncertainty and potential danger. Taaret's vigilant protection offered comfort, reminding listeners that even in moments of vulnerability, divine guardianship ensured stability and care. Her hybrid form embodies both the protective and potentially dangerous aspects of nature. The hippopotamus is a massive and powerful creature, capable of immense strength and aggression, yet Taaret channels this power into safeguarding life rather than destruction. The lion limbs signify courage and ferocity, while the crocodile tail represents adaptability and defense. By merging these traits, Taaret conveys a sense of strength harnessed for benevolent purposes. In quiet meditation, one can visualize her standing guard beside the Nile, a subtle ripple in the water reflecting her calm yet vigilant presence, embodying the interplay of power and care in perfect harmony. Taaret's iconography often depicts her with a rounded belly, emphasizing her association with pregnancy and the life-giving forces of nature. She is sometimes shown standing upright on hind legs, her posture alert yet gentle, radiating warmth and protection. Her form is intentionally approachable, inviting those in need to feel her presence without fear. The Egyptians' artistic representation of Taaret demonstrates a mastery of balance. Even a seemingly intimidating creature can convey nurturing energy when purposefully depicted. This duality makes her a particularly soothing figure for immersive storytelling, as she represents both reassurance and gentle tension in the imagination. The goddess's symbolism extends beyond the physical act of protection. Taaret also governs fertility, childbirth, and family well-being, linking the safety of the individual to the continuity of community and life itself. She reminds listeners that life is a cycle, interwoven with challenges, growth, and renewal, and that these cycles require guardianship, patience, and vigilance. In the quiet reflection encouraged by storytelling for sleep, one can imagine Taaret's calm presence permeating the home, the temple, or the riverbank, her protective aura a constant source of reassurance, allowing the mind to relax into a gentle rhythm of reflection and visualization. Taaret also serves as a guardian against malevolent spirits and chaos. Just as monsters like Apep embody destruction and disruption, Taaret embodies counterbalancing forces, stability, protection, and life-affirming energy. In visualizing her guarding thresholds, whether in the home, at the river, or within the symbolic landscapes of myth, listeners experience a sense of safety and order. Her hybrid form, while powerful, is deliberately composed to foster calm, not panic. The subtle tension of her potential for strength is counterbalanced by the nurturing intent that defines her mythology, creating an immersive and meditative mental landscape ideal for reflection or relaxation. The Egyptians often placed images of Tauret near homes, in bedrooms, and around children to ensure ongoing protection and blessing. These depictions served both a spiritual and psychological function, reminding the inhabitants of divine care while reinforcing a sense of security. In storytelling for relaxation, imagining Tauret in these protective roles encourages a sense of grounded calm, reinforcing the listener's perception of safety, balance, and harmony. The gentle awareness of a powerful protector nearby fosters the slow, rhythmic focus that helps the mind transition into a meditative or sleep-ready state. Tauret's presence also illustrates a broader theme in Egyptian mythology, the intertwining of fear, power, and care. Many creatures and gods embody dualities: destruction and protection, chaos and order, danger and nurturing, and Tauret exemplifies this principle beautifully. By visualizing her form and her actions in a calm, contemplative manner, listeners can engage with both the tension and reassurance inherent in myth, experiencing fascination without anxiety. Her story provides a bridge between fearsome monsters and benevolent guardians, enriching the rhythm and flow of the narrative journey through Egypt's mythological world. Tonight, as we imagine Tauret standing vigilant by the banks of the Nile or beside a mother in labor, we carry forward a sense of protection, maternal strength, and quiet courage. Her hybrid form, blending the power of hippos, lions, and crocodiles, reminds us that even the most intimidating creatures can offer safety, guidance, and care when approached with intention and respect. In reflecting on her mythology, we cultivate a sense of calm, awe, and reassurance, a perfect complement to the immersive, meditative storytelling that guides us gently through the monsters and mystical beings of ancient Egypt. In the hush of night, with the Nile's waters flowing softly and the desert breeze cooling the sands, Tauret's protective presence lingers in the mind's eye. She embodies the balance of nurturing and strength, fear and reassurance, chaos and order. By carrying her imagery forward, we prepare ourselves for the next creatures in our journey, beings that, like Tauret, combine fascinating forms, symbolic depth, and immersive narrative qualities to engage the imagination while maintaining a soothing, reflective atmosphere conducive to relaxation and sleep. As we move deeper into the shadowed corners of ancient Egyptian mythology, we encounter a creature whose very presence embodies danger and disorder: Apep, the serpent of chaos. Imagine a colossal snake, coiling through the darkness with scales that seem to absorb the light around it, eyes glinting with malevolent intelligence. Unlike the protective guardians or nurturing figures we have explored, Apep represents the forces of disruption, opposition, and cosmic instability. Its vast size and relentless nature make it a being both terrifying and fascinating, commanding attention while inviting careful reflection. In the gentle, meditative storytelling style we follow, Apep's mythology can be explored with calm curiosity, allowing listeners to engage with tension without fear. Apep, also known as Apophis, is closely associated with the sun god Ra, representing the eternal struggle between order and chaos. Each night, as Ra travels through the underworld, Apep attempts to swallow the sun, plunging the world into darkness. This cosmic battle is not just a mythological story. It is a symbolic representation of the cycles of challenge, uncertainty, and renewal that are intrinsic to life. In imagining this nightly struggle, one can picture the serpent lurking in shadowed waters, coiling around unseen obstacles, its vast body shifting silently beneath the surface. Though Apep embodies threat, its existence also emphasizes the inevitability of challenge and the persistent triumph of order and light. The Egyptians believed that rituals, prayers, and magical spells could restrain Apep, ensuring that Ra's journey continued and that the sun would rise again. This reflects a broader theme in Egyptian mythology. Chaos is ever present, but it can be managed, observed, and countered through knowledge, vigilance, and ritual. By contemplating this duality, the listener is encouraged to explore fear and tension with a structured, reflective mindset. The serpent becomes a symbolic teacher, demonstrating the balance between caution and courage, the interplay of darkness and light, and the importance of persistence in the face of adversity. Apep's colossal form is often depicted in hieroglyphs and temple reliefs, twisting through the underworld with a sinuous elegance that is both mesmerizing and unsettling. Its scales shimmer with darkness, its eyes reflect endless patience, and its mouth yawns wide, revealing sharp fangs poised to strike. In calm visualization, the listener can trace the movement of Apep's body slowly, noting the rhythmic coils, the subtle shifts in shadow, and the undulating motion that suggests both power and inevitability. This gentle observation engages the imagination without overwhelming it, fostering a reflective, immersive experience rather than inducing panic or alarm. The myth of Apep also teaches lessons about vigilance and resilience. Just as Ra's journey must continue each night despite the serpent's attempts to consume the sun, humans must navigate challenges, obstacles, and uncertainties in life. The Egyptians' depiction of Apep as a persistent, intelligent force emphasizes that difficulties are not random, but are integral to the rhythm of existence. By observing this narrative slowly and meditatively, listeners can cultivate patience, awareness, and the understanding that tension and challenge are natural components of a balanced world. In some interpretations, Apep is not merely evil. It is a necessary counterpart to order, a force that defines the limits of stability and balance. Without chaos, there can be no triumph of order. Without challenge, there can be no growth. In the quiet cadence of bedtime storytelling, this perspective allows Apep to be seen not only as a source of tension, but also as a teacher of resilience, patience, and reflection. The listener can visualize the serpent's coils as a flowing pattern of tension and release, watching the interplay between darkness and light, danger and safety, and understanding that both are essential to the natural rhythm of life. Apep's presence in Egyptian mythology is a reminder of the complexity of monsters. Unlike straightforwardly protective or nurturing beings, this serpent embodies existential threat while simultaneously providing structure for narrative and symbolic exploration. In storytelling for relaxation, Apep's myth encourages careful observation and slow engagement. The mind follows the serpent's movements, traces the path of Ra's nightly journey, and experiences a controlled tension that is ultimately reassuring because it exists within the safe framework of myth. This measured tension, framed by predictable narrative patterns, creates a hypnotic rhythm ideal for meditative focus and gentle mental stimulation. The rituals and spells used to restrain Apep are particularly fascinating. Priests would recite incantations, perform symbolic attacks on effigies, and conduct ceremonies to ensure that the serpent could not disrupt the cosmic order. Imagining these rituals, one can picture careful gestures, the soft murmur of chants, and the deliberate motion of hands and objects designed to maintain harmony. This deliberate structure, combined with the serpent's latent threat, offers a pattern of tension and reassurance, mirroring the controlled, immersive experience that facilitates relaxation and sleep. Tonight, as we picture Apep lurking in the shadowed underworld, we carry forward lessons of balance, vigilance, and resilience. Its vast, coiling body reminds us that challenges, threats, and uncertainties are inherent to the rhythm of life, yet they can be navigated with calm awareness, deliberate action, and reflection. By contemplating Apep slowly, visualizing its movements, and tracing the symbolic struggle between chaos and order, listeners engage with myth in a way that is both captivating and soothing, combining gentle tension with meditative insight. Apep's serpent form, endless in coils and patient in motion, invites contemplation on the cyclical nature of challenge and resolution. In the quiet of night, as the imagination drifts through the shadowed underworld alongside Ra and his guardians, we sense that danger and order are interdependent, that darkness and light exist in a measured rhythm, and that vigilance, courage, and reflection ensure continuity and safety. In this immersive visualization, the listener experiences fascination, calm, and gentle engagement with the myth, a perfect balance for sleep-friendly storytelling. Through Apep, we understand that monsters in ancient Egypt are rarely one-dimensional. Each creature, whether terrifying, nurturing, or protective, serves to illustrate deeper truths about existence, balance, and human understanding of the cosmos. In this way, Apep becomes not only a figure of fear and chaos, but also a teacher of resilience, structure, and controlled engagement with tension. Its mythology reminds us that even the most dangerous forces can be observed calmly, interpreted thoughtfully, and integrated into a narrative of balance and reflection. As we continue our journey through the monsters and mystical beings of ancient Egypt, we encounter Sekhmet, the lion-headed goddess whose dual nature embodies both destruction and restoration. Imagine a towering lioness, her eyes glowing with intensity, her golden mane shimmering in the sun, yet her movements deliberate and composed rather than chaotic. Sekhmet is fierce and formidable, yet her power is measured, governed by a divine purpose. She represents the delicate balance between wrath and mercy, disease and healing, chaos and order, making her one of the most complex and captivating figures in Egyptian mythology. In the gentle storytelling style we follow, Sekhmet invites curiosity, reflection, and meditative engagement rather than alarm. Sekhmet's role in Egyptian mythology is multifaceted. She was revered as a warrior goddess, protector of pharaohs, and avenger of disorder. At the same time, she was associated with healing, medicine, and the restoration of balance after chaos. This duality is central to her symbolic significance. Imagine her standing at the edge of a battlefield, her golden fur glinting under the sun, yet radiating calm authority. In moments of reflection, one can visualize Sekhmet's fierce gaze as a symbol of vigilance, and her controlled movements as an emblem of measured action. This imagery allows listeners to engage with her intensity without fear, appreciating the balance of power and restraint inherent in her mythology. Sekhmet's lioness form is not only striking but deeply symbolic. Lions in Egyptian culture embody strength, courage, and protective instincts, all of which are reflected in Sekhmet's character. Her roar is a manifestation of divine power, capable of both terrifying enemies and warning of potential disruption. Yet her fury is purposeful, directed toward the restoration of order rather than senseless destruction. In calm meditation, one can imagine her slow, deliberate movements, the soft sway of her tail, the rhythmic pulse of her breath, and the controlled intensity in her eyes. This careful observation allows the mind to appreciate both the power and the discipline embodied by Sekhmet, fostering a sense of awe tempered with reassurance. In addition to her martial aspect, Sekhmet's association with healing and medicine highlights the Egyptians' understanding of duality in the natural and spiritual world. She could bring disease or alleviate it, punish wrongdoing or restore balance, reflecting the idea that forces of destruction and creation are intertwined. Visualizing this duality gently, one can imagine Sekhmet at the threshold of chaos and order, carefully measuring her actions, guiding energies to restore harmony, and teaching that power, when exercised wisely, can heal as well as protect. This nuanced portrayal encourages thoughtful engagement and meditation, allowing the mind to explore complex themes without tension or alarm. Sekhmet was also linked to the sun god Ra, often depicted as his instrument of retribution when divine order was threatened. Her fiery energy, represented by her red-gold mane and radiant aura, illustrates both her potential for devastation and her capacity for divine justice. At the same time, she embodies the concept that destruction can be constructive, that chaos can be a precursor to renewal, and that intense energy, when properly guided, maintains cosmic balance. In the context of immersive storytelling for relaxation, Sekhmet's power becomes a slow, hypnotic rhythm. The rising and falling intensity of her presence mirrors the natural cycles of life, offering both fascination and gentle reflection. Her duality is reflected in ritual and art. Statues and carvings often depict Sekhmet in poised stances, her gaze steady, her posture both alert and calm. These depictions communicate her vigilance and authority without evoking panic. The Egyptians recognized that true power lies not in uncontrolled force, but in measured, intentional action. Visualizing Sekhmet in this controlled, majestic form encourages the listener to explore themes of balance, responsibility, and the measured application of strength, all within a safe, meditative mental space. Sekhmet's mythology also emphasizes the importance of respect for natural and cosmic forces. Her capacity for both destruction and healing reminds us that imbalance, whether in the external world or within oneself, can have consequences, yet these forces are not inherently malevolent. They operate within a framework of order, intention, and interconnectedness. By engaging with Sekhmet's narrative slowly, the mind can explore tension and resolution, danger and safety, fury and compassion, cultivating a reflective and calm state. This measured engagement is central to the immersive storytelling style, providing a gentle rhythm that prepares the listener for relaxation and sleep. In meditative visualization, Sekhmet can be pictured pacing slowly along temple corridors, her golden mane catching the soft light, muscles rippling with controlled energy, eyes fixed with serene intensity. Her presence is commanding, yet not chaotic. It embodies controlled power and disciplined vigilance. Observing her in this way allows the listener to experience a sense of structured tension, an awareness of danger and strength that is balanced by calm and order. This rhythm of observation fosters mental engagement without stress, creating a perfect space for reflection, fascination, and relaxation. Sekhmet's dual nature also reflects broader Egyptian themes of balance and harmony. Like other mythological creatures we have explored, she embodies contrasts, destruction and healing, aggression and protection, chaos and order. These dualities encourage the listener to reflect on similar balances within their own experience, all within a soothing, narrative framework. By following her story gently, one cultivates an understanding of how tension can coexist with calm, how vigilance can be paired with reflection, and how strength can serve both protective and restorative purposes. Tonight, as we leave Sekhmet pacing quietly through the imagined corridors of a temple, we carry forward the sense of awe, balance, and calm fascination that she embodies. Her lioness form, her fiery presence, and her disciplined energy remind us that even forces capable of great power can be measured, purposeful, and ultimately harmonious. In contemplating Sekhmet's mythology, the listener experiences a gentle tension, reflective engagement, and meditative focus, a combination that aligns perfectly with immersive storytelling and relaxation for sleep. The lioness goddess teaches us that strength and discipline, fury and care, destruction and healing can coexist within a single being, offering a model for reflection, awareness, and calm engagement with complexity. By embracing her story slowly, we are prepared to continue our journey through the monsters and mystical beings of ancient Egypt, guided by curiosity, imagination, and a soothing narrative rhythm that encourages mental focus and gentle relaxation. As we continue our exploration of the monsters and mystical beings of ancient Egypt, we now encounter Babi, the baboon god, whose mythology blends aggression, protection, and the shadowed realm of the underworld. Imagine a large, dark-furred baboon with piercing eyes, moving with a tense, deliberate energy, its posture alert and vigilant. Though small in scale compared to creatures like Apep or Sekhmet, Babi's presence is striking, his aggressive energy tempered by purpose and mythological context. He embodies both danger and authority, particularly within the underworld, offering insight into the Egyptian understanding of balance, power, and moral order. In the calm storytelling style we follow, Babi becomes a fascinating figure for reflection, curiosity, and immersive visualization. Babi was associated with the underworld, aggression, and the consumption of the impure. He was believed to feed on the souls of the sinful or the morally unbalanced, a grim reminder of the consequences of disorder in life and after death. Yet his aggression was not arbitrary, it was purposeful and bound by cosmic law. In quiet visualization, one can imagine Babi perched in shadowed corridors of the underworld, muscles taut, eyes scanning, ready to act against disorder or imbalance. His presence, while potentially intimidating, embodies the Egyptians' principle of controlled enforcement, power exercised within a structure rather than chaos unleashed without guidance. The baboon itself, as an animal, held rich symbolism in Egyptian culture. Known for intelligence, social hierarchy, and vocal communication, baboons were perceived as liminal creatures bridging the natural and spiritual worlds. Bobby embodies these qualities, reflecting vigilance, social order, and moral oversight within the mythological framework. Visualizing Bobby's fur bristling under the dim light of the underworld, one can imagine the subtle tension of his movements, the controlled aggression in his stance, and the deliberate observation of every action around him. This imagery is both hypnotic and meditative, fostering careful attention without fear, perfectly suited for bedtime storytelling. Bobby's connection to the underworld highlights the Egyptians' understanding of moral consequences and the maintenance of cosmic balance. Just as Anubis guides the souls of the dead and Apep challenges cosmic order, Bobby ensures that disorder and impurity are addressed, guarding the structure of the afterlife. He embodies the principle that even aggression has a purpose, that threats and dangers serve to maintain equilibrium, and that vigilance is a key component of stability. In reflecting on Bobby's actions, the listener can explore themes of cause and effect, consequence and order, all within a calm, immersive narrative framework. Artistic depictions often show Bobby as a seated or crouching baboon, sometimes with prominent teeth or a stern expression, emphasizing both his authority and his readiness to act. He is not chaotic in posture. His aggression is deliberate and measured. This intentionality offers an important lesson for the listener. Power and force can coexist with reflection, observation, and restraint. By visualizing these traits slowly, the mind engages with tension and vigilance without panic, fostering a contemplative state that encourages focus and relaxation simultaneously. Bobby was also believed to assist in guiding the morally upright through the underworld while punishing the impure, reflecting the Egyptian emphasis on moral and cosmic order. His dual role, both aggressive enforcer and protective guardian, demonstrates the complex ways in which monsters and deities functioned in mythology. They were never one-dimensional. Each carried lessons about life, death, morality, and balance. In a meditative visualization, one can picture Bobby's careful assessment of souls, his poised yet restrained movements, and the rhythmic, measured nature of his enforcement, creating a gentle tension that engages without alarming. The symbolism of Bobby also extends into personal reflection. By imagining a being whose aggression is purposeful, controlled, and structured, listeners are encouraged to consider the use of their own energy, vigilance, and attention in life. Challenges, obstacles, or confrontations can be approached with deliberate awareness, balancing assertiveness with control. Bobby's mythology transforms aggression from a source of fear into a tool for structure and moral balance, aligning perfectly with the immersive, calming style of storytelling for relaxation or sleep. In meditative visualization, Bobby might be pictured perched on a shadowed ledge, watching silently over the corridors of the underworld. His piercing gaze scans every movement, his stance both alert and composed. Listeners can imagine the subtle rise and fall of his chest, the quiet tension in his limbs, and the deliberate, controlled potential for action. This imagery creates a rhythmic mental pattern, a gentle ebb and flow of tension and calm, which guides the mind into a reflective, tranquil state. The aggression is present but framed by structure, order, and purpose, offering fascination without alarm. Tonight, as we leave Bobby observing the shadowed underworld, we carry forward an understanding of deliberate vigilance, controlled aggression, and moral oversight. His presence reminds us that even intimidating or aggressive forces can serve constructive purposes, maintaining order and balance. In contemplating his mythology, the listener engages with tension and authority in a safe, immersive, and reflective manner, reinforcing calm curiosity and meditative focus. Bobby teaches that power, vigilance, and moral responsibility are inseparable from order and balance. By imagining him slowly, in measured motion and silent observation, we prepare the mind for subsequent encounters with other mystical beings of ancient Egypt, ready to explore both fearsome and protective forces in a rhythm that combines fascination, reflection, and relaxation. In this way, Bobby's story continues the gentle, immersive journey through the mythology of monsters, offering insight, meditation, and mental engagement that is perfectly suited for sleep-friendly storytelling. As we continue our journey through the monsters and mystical beings of ancient Egypt, we now encounter a creature of light, hope, and timeless cycles, the Bennu bird. Imagine a majestic, radiant bird, its plumage shimmering with golden and fiery hues, standing atop the sands of the Nile Delta as dawn begins to break. Unlike fearsome predators or aggressive guardians, the Bennu embodies renewal, transformation, and the perpetual rhythm of life and death. Its story is one of quiet resilience and cyclical harmony, offering calm fascination, gentle wonder, and meditative reflection, an ideal companion for immersive, sleep-friendly storytelling. The Bennu bird is often considered the inspiration for the later Greek myth of the phoenix, yet its roots in Egyptian mythology are deeply connected to the sun, creation, and the eternal cycles of existence. It is associated with the sun god Ra and the concept of creation itself, emerging from the primordial waters of Nun. Imagine the Bennu rising from these waters in a soft, radiant glow, each feather reflecting sunlight, each movement deliberate and serene. This imagery encourages the listener to focus on gentle visual patterns, the undulating motion of wings, the slow rise into the morning sky, and the symbolic promise of renewal and hope. Symbolically, the Bennu represents rebirth and regeneration. Just as the sun rises each day, dispelling darkness and illuminating the land, the Bennu's presence reminds us that endings are followed by beginnings, that even in darkness, there is potential for light. Its cycles mirror the natural rhythm of life, teaching patience, reflection, and acceptance. In quiet meditation, the listener can imagine the Bennu perched calmly, resting between periods of flight, embodying both repose and readiness. This gentle rhythm, reflecting cycles of rest and renewal, is particularly soothing and conducive to relaxation or sleep. The bird's plumage and radiant form are often described in Egyptian texts as dazzling and almost otherworldly, capturing the imagination and inspiring awe. In artistic depictions, the Bennu is sometimes shown perched atop a sacred Benben stone, a symbol of the primordial mound and creation. Its posture is upright, graceful, and commanding, yet serene, suggesting both authority and tranquility. Visualizing these details in the mind allows the listener to engage slowly with the story, noticing subtle textures, patterns, and colors, cultivating a hypnotic, immersive experience that calms the mind while stimulating curiosity. The Bennu also symbolizes cyclical time and the eternal nature of the soul. Just as it rises, rests, and rises again, life follows patterns of growth, decay, and renewal. This symbolism resonates with the broader Egyptian worldview, emphasizing balance, continuity, and the harmony of opposites. By contemplating the Bennu's cycles, listeners are invited to reflect on their own experiences, transitions, and transformations, all within a safe, imaginative space. The bird's quiet majesty encourages a gentle awareness of temporal rhythm, a meditative engagement that blends fascination with relaxation. In addition to its association with creation and the sun, the Bennu's story intertwines with themes of guidance and spiritual insight. As a creature of light emerging from darkness, it symbolizes the potential to navigate challenges with clarity and calm. Imagining the Bennu soaring over the Nile Delta at dawn, the listener can visualize the soft ripple of water beneath, the golden haze of sunrise enveloping the scene, and the bird's slow, deliberate movements tracing patterns of light across the landscape. This visualization fosters a gentle focus, combining aesthetic pleasure with symbolic reflection, ideal for immersive storytelling designed to prepare the mind for sleep. The Bennu's cycles of death and rebirth also encourage reflection on resilience and continuity. In mythology, the bird may periodically vanish or undergo transformation, only to return renewed. This pattern reminds the listener that periods of rest, challenge, or obscurity are not final. They are part of a larger rhythm of renewal and growth. The gentle, predictable pattern of these cycles provides both narrative structure and meditative pacing, creating a sense of calm engagement. The listener's imagination moves in harmony with the Bennu's rhythm, following its flight, pause, and eventual ascent, fostering a reflective, immersive state. Artistic depictions of the Bennu frequently emphasize both its physical elegance and symbolic weight. The long, flowing plumes, the radiant colors, and the upright posture convey majesty without aggression, encouraging calm admiration and gentle fascination. Its presence does not provoke fear, but awe and contemplation. In quiet meditation, the listener can trace the flow of feathers, the arc of wings, and the soft radiance of light reflecting from the bird's form, creating a hypnotic and soothing mental landscape conducive to sleep. The Bennu's significance also extends to spiritual guidance. As a symbol of renewal and creation, it reminds the listener that even in times of uncertainty or endings, there is potential for rebirth, insight, and transformation. Its myth encourages acceptance of natural cycles, fostering resilience and patience. By visualizing the bird in a serene, meditative setting, the listener experiences a sense of order, continuity, and harmony, perfectly aligned with the immersive, sleep-oriented storytelling style we follow. Tonight, as we imagine the Bennu rising slowly above the Nile Delta, we carry forward a sense of calm, hope, and continuity. Its radiant plumage, measured movements, and symbolic cycles provide gentle fascination while cultivating a reflective, meditative mindset. The Bennu story teaches that light follows darkness, endings precede beginnings, and life is a rhythm of renewal and transformation. In engaging with this myth slowly, the listener experiences both curiosity and tranquility, a balance that is central to the style of storytelling designed for relaxation and sleep. In the hush of night, with the imagined sun beginning its ascent and the waters of the Nile glimmering softly, the Bennu's flight becomes a rhythmic meditation. Its rise, pause, and renewed ascent mirror natural cycles of attention, reflection, and restoration, inviting the mind to settle, focus gently, and drift toward rest. Through the Bennu, we understand that even in mythology, creatures serve not only to inspire awe but also to guide the imagination, offering patterns, rhythm, and calm engagement with profound symbolic truths. As our journey through the mystical creatures of ancient Egypt continues, we now encounter the serpopards, strange and fascinating hybrids that combine the lithe grace of leopards with the sinuous length of serpents. Imagine a creature with the spotted body of a leopard, long, winding necks reminiscent of serpents, and eyes gleaming with quiet intelligence. Unlike the familiar predators of the Nile or the fiery guardians of temples, serpopards evoke a sense of mystery and curiosity. Their unusual forms invite gentle speculation, slow observation, and imaginative engagement, qualities that make them perfect companions for immersive storytelling designed for relaxation and sleep. Serpopards appear most often in Egyptian art on ceremonial palettes and reliefs, depicted in pairs with intertwined necks, forming elegant, looping shapes. These images are not intended to provoke fear. Rather, they emphasize balance, symmetry, and the blending of contrasting qualities. Imagine watching these creatures side by side, their long, flexible necks curling around each other in a slow, rhythmic dance. The visual pattern encourages careful attention, inviting the listener to trace each curve, each movement, and each intricate spot on their bodies, fostering a calm, meditative engagement. The symbolism of the serpopards reflects the Egyptian fascination with duality, boundaries, and the blending of opposites. Their leopard bodies represent strength, speed, and the raw power of nature, while their serpentine necks suggest flexibility, adaptability, and connection between disparate realms. In mythology, these hybrids often symbolize the union of chaos and order, the interplay between the known and the mysterious, and the balance required to maintain harmony in the cosmos. In quiet reflection, the listener can imagine serpopards as guardians of thresholds, liminal spaces, or sacred objects, their presence simultaneously comforting and enigmatic. Serpopards also embody the concept of interconnection. Their intertwined necks, frequently depicted in artistic representations, symbolize the delicate interplay between different forces in the world: life and death, protection and challenge, stability and flexibility. By observing the elegant curves of their bodies, listeners can feel a rhythmic flow, a gentle tension resolved through balance and pattern. This mental visualization encourages a contemplative, almost hypnotic focus, ideal for bedtime storytelling where fascination coexists with relaxation. Though serpopards are less fearsome than Amit or Sekhmet, they still embody potential danger, particularly in their leopard aspects. Their bodies suggest agility, power, and readiness to act if necessary. Yet their serpentine necks and calm depictions indicate control and awareness, a reminder that power need not be chaotic to be effective. In the narrative rhythm of immersive storytelling, this balance creates a gentle tension, inviting listeners to explore subtle contrasts between strength and flexibility, threat and curiosity, without alarm. The serpopard's unusual anatomy also encourages imaginative engagement. Unlike straightforwardly familiar animals, they challenge the mind to integrate multiple forms, to trace complex shapes, and to interpret symbolism. This cognitive engagement, slow and deliberate, promotes focus and mindfulness. The listener can visualize the creatures slowly moving across a ceremonial palette, their necks curling like flowing ribbons, their spotted bodies pausing in measured grace. The act of tracing these forms mentally creates a soothing, hypnotic pattern, combining gentle mental stimulation with calm observation. In mythology, serpopards were sometimes associated with guarding sacred objects, particularly ritual palettes or ceremonial artifacts. Their intertwined necks framed central symbols, acting as a protective barrier while also enhancing visual symmetry. This dual function of beauty and guardianship mirrors the broader Egyptian approach to monsters and mystical beings, creatures that embody both symbolic and functional significance, blending fascination, narrative depth, and aesthetic design. Visualizing serpopards in this context encourages the listener to appreciate both their protective role and their elegant form, cultivating calm curiosity and reflective engagement. The serpopard's combination of serpentine and feline traits also reflects broader themes in Egyptian thought: hybridization, adaptation, and the interplay of diverse forces. By blending different characteristics, the Egyptians created a creature that embodies multiple symbolic meanings simultaneously, offering a model for understanding complexity and balance. In meditative visualization, the listener can trace the leopard spots, the curves of the serpentine necks, and the subtle expressions of the eyes, noticing how each feature contributes to the creature's harmony and mystery. This careful observation promotes mindfulness, focus, and slow, reflective engagement, qualities essential for immersive, sleep-friendly storytelling. Tonight, as we imagine the serpopards moving slowly across ceremonial palettes, their necks intertwined, their bodies poised and elegant, we carry forward a sense of balance, curiosity, and quiet fascination. These creatures remind us that not all monsters evoke fear. Some inspire reflection, careful observation, and a meditative sense of wonder. Their hybrid forms encourage slow, deliberate visualization, engaging the imagination while maintaining a soothing, hypnotic rhythm conducive to relaxation and sleep. The serpopards also teach subtle lessons about adaptability and interconnectedness. By combining the strength of leopards with the flexibility of serpents, they embody the principle that balance and resilience often arise from the integration of different qualities. Observing them slowly allows the listener to internalize this lesson gently, cultivating awareness, patience, and appreciation for complexity. In the context of our journey through ancient Egyptian mythology, they offer a bridge between fearsome guardians, nurturing deities, and creatures of renewal, enriching the narrative with gentle tension, fascination, and calm reflection. As night falls over the imagined landscape of temples, rivers, and ceremonial spaces, the serpopards' intertwined necks and poised movements create a pattern of visual and symbolic harmony. Their presence reassures the listener that even mysterious and hybrid forces can be understood, appreciated, and observed with calm curiosity. Through slow visualization and attentive imagination, we engage with their form, their movement, and their symbolic significance, entering a meditative state that blends fascination, reflection, and tranquility, an ideal space for immersive, sleep-oriented storytelling. As our journey through the monsters and mystical beings of ancient Egypt nears its conclusion, we encounter the griffin, a majestic creature whose form inspires both awe and quiet contemplation. Imagine a being with the muscular body of a lion, the keen eyes and beak of an eagle, and wings that span with a gentle, powerful grace. The griffin embodies strength, vigilance, and guardianship, offering a serene yet commanding presence that fits seamlessly into the immersive, calming storytelling rhythm we follow. Unlike chaotic or fearsome monsters, the griffin's role is deliberate. It guards treasures, sacred spaces, and the balance between worlds. In Egyptian mythology, the griffin is often associated with protection and the safeguarding of valuable objects, both physical and symbolic. Its lion's body conveys terrestrial power and courage, while its eagle head and wings signify keen vision, spiritual awareness, and the ability to observe from above. Visualize the griffin perched atop a temple wall or hovering over a golden chest, wings folded in regal repose, eyes scanning the surroundings with patient intelligence. This imagery invites the listener to follow its gaze slowly, tracing the contours of its body, feathers, and musculature, fostering calm observation and meditative focus. The griffin's dual nature, part lion, part eagle, illustrates the Egyptian fascination with combining traits to embody multiple qualities at once. Strength and speed, earth and sky, vigilance and agility, all coexist in a single being. This duality is central to its role as a guardian. The griffin is not aggressive without cause. Rather, its power is measured, precise, and purposeful, maintaining order and protecting what is valuable. For listeners, this creates a gentle tension. Admiration for the creature's might tempered by reassurance in its controlled nature. The calm pacing of this narrative allows for reflective engagement, blending fascination with serenity. In art and mythology, griffins were often depicted in pairs, framing temples or sacred spaces, their wings forming elegant arches, their bodies taut with poised strength. These visual patterns emphasize symmetry, protection, and harmony, creating a soothing aesthetic for those observing or imagining them. Listeners can trace the griffin's movements in their mind, a subtle stretch of its wings, the tilt of its eagle head, the measured shift of its lion's body. This slow visualization fosters mindfulness, enhancing engagement with the myth while maintaining a calming, reflective tone. The griffin also embodies the theme of vigilance. Its keen eyes and elevated perspective allow it to monitor both earthly and spiritual realms, ensuring that danger is detected before it can disrupt order. In quiet meditation, one can imagine the griffin's watchful gaze sweeping over sacred temples, golden treasures, or hidden corridors, each movement deliberate and calm. This visualization emphasizes the protective, reassuring aspect of power. Strength exists not for chaos, but for preservation, stability, and measured action. Symbolically, griffins represent the balance between different forces. Their lion and eagle traits remind us that grounding and aspiration, strength and perception, can coexist harmoniously. This theme resonates with earlier creatures we have encountered, from Taret's maternal protection to Bobby's controlled aggression and the Benu's cycles of renewal. By contemplating the griffin slowly, listeners are encouraged to reflect on balance in their own lives, to appreciate the interplay of vigilance and calm, and to cultivate mindfulness in observing both the external and internal worlds. The griffin's guardianship extends beyond physical protection. In mythology, it often safeguards treasures of spiritual or symbolic significance, reinforcing the idea that vigilance and discernment are essential in preserving what is valuable. Visualizing these treasures, gilded artifacts, sacred scrolls, or hidden symbols, under the griffin's watchful gaze encourages the mind to slow down, to observe carefully, and to enter a meditative state. This deliberate observation, paired with the gentle rhythm of the narrative, fosters calm, reflective engagement ideal for sleep-oriented storytelling. Artistic depictions of griffins frequently emphasize their elegance and majesty rather than raw aggression. Their wings arch gracefully, muscles are poised in controlled readiness, and their eyes convey intelligence rather than fury. For listeners, this conveys reassurance. Power can be majestic and protective rather than chaotic or threatening. By mentally tracing these details, the imagination engages fully yet calmly, creating a hypnotic, immersive experience that balances fascination with relaxation. Tonight, as we imagine the griffin soaring gently above temple courtyards or resting atop a gilded chest, we carry forward a sense of calm vigilance, measured power, and protective authority. Its dual nature, earthly lion and aerial eagle, encourages reflection on balance, harmony, and the coexistence of contrasting qualities. In contemplating its role as a guardian, the listener experiences gentle tension paired with reassurance, a rhythm that encourages focus, curiosity, and gradual relaxation. The griffin teaches subtle lessons about observation, patience, and purposeful action. Its vigilant gaze reminds us that strength and intelligence are most effective when combined with mindfulness, and that guardianship is most meaningful when exercised with calm and deliberate intent. In the immersive storytelling journey through ancient Egyptian mythology, griffins serve as a final example of creatures whose power is both awe-inspiring and meditative, blending fascination with the gentle rhythm needed for relaxation and sleep. In the hush of night, with imagined temple corridors bathed in moonlight, the griffin's wings move slowly, its eyes sweeping the surroundings, and its presence offers reassurance. The mind follows each subtle motion, tracing patterns of feathers, muscles, and gaze. In this rhythm, the listener experiences a calming engagement, attentive observation paired with reflective thought, curiosity tempered by serenity, tension balanced with reassurance. In this way, the griffin becomes both a guardian of treasures and a guardian of the imagination, ensuring that the mind remains engaged yet relaxed, perfectly aligned with the immersive, sleep-friendly storytelling style we have cultivated throughout our journey. As we come to the final chapter of our journey through the monsters and mystical beings of ancient Egypt, it is time to pause and reflect on the lessons, patterns, and insights these creatures have quietly offered. From Taaret, the nurturing hippo goddess, to Apep, the serpent of chaos, and from the radiant Bennu bird to the enigmatic serpopards, each being has guided us gently through a landscape of wonder, tension, and reflection. In their stories, we have observed a delicate balance between fear and fascination, strength and protection, chaos and order, a rhythm that mirrors life itself. By engaging with these myths slowly and meditatively, we can carry the calm curiosity and reflective awareness into our own thoughts, allowing the mind to settle and drift toward rest. Ancient Egyptian monsters were never merely frightful. They were symbolic teachers, guardians of moral and cosmic order, and guides for understanding the cycles of existence. They occupied a space where imagination, ritual, and observation intersected. Consider how each creature embodies dualities. Taaret protects yet intimidates with her formidable presence. Sekhmet heals even as she strikes. Bobby enforces order through controlled aggression, and griffins safeguard treasures with calm authority. These contrasts invite careful contemplation, allowing the mind to engage with tension in a measured, reflective way, an experience that is both intellectually satisfying and profoundly relaxing. One of the most striking lessons from these myths is the Egyptian understanding of balance. Chaos exists not to destroy, but to define order. Strength exists not to dominate, but to protect. Vigilance exists not to alarm, but to ensure continuity. Each monster, hybrid, or guardian teaches us that power and danger, beauty and terror, curiosity and caution can coexist harmoniously when framed by purpose, awareness, and ritual. Visualizing these creatures slowly, tracing their forms, and imagining their roles, allows the listener to internalize these principles in a meditative, sleep-friendly way. The monsters of ancient Egypt also remind us of the importance of cycles. The Bennu bird rises and falls, representing rebirth and renewal. Apep attacks nightly, only to be repelled so the sun can rise again. Even Sekhmet's fury follows a rhythm that alternates between destruction and healing. These cycles reflect the natural rhythms of life, day and night, activity and rest, challenge and resolution. In gently contemplating these cycles, listeners are encouraged to recognize patterns in their own lives, cultivating awareness, patience, and calm acceptance. This slow engagement with myth mirrors the gentle ebb and flow of thought and consciousness that prepares the mind for rest. Another enduring theme is the coexistence of the familiar and the strange. Many creatures we encountered, serpoparts, griffins, bobby, combine recognizable traits in unfamiliar ways, reminding us that understanding often arises from curiosity and careful observation. By visualizing these hybrids slowly, the mind engages in a gentle form of cognitive exploration, observing complexity without alarm. This creates a subtle mental rhythm, balancing fascination with tranquility and encouraging reflective awareness, a perfect foundation for immersive storytelling aimed at relaxation or sleep. The Egyptian approach to monsters also emphasizes protection, guardianship, and moral order. Taret watches over the vulnerable, griffins guard treasures, and Bobby enforces cosmic justice. Even a Pep, while threatening, exists within the framework of myth to teach lessons about vigilance, resilience, and the triumph of order over chaos. These creatures function as both characters and symbols, blending narrative engagement with philosophical insight. In quiet meditation, one can imagine each being in its space, observing, guarding, or acting, creating a rhythmic mental landscape of narrative, tension, and gentle reassurance. The aesthetics of these creatures further enhance the meditative experience. Ancient Egyptian art emphasized symmetry, elegance, and the blending of forms, creating visual patterns that are soothing to the imagination. The intertwined necks of serpopards, the radiant plumage of Bennu, and the poised wings of griffins all encourage careful observation, slow tracing of shapes, and appreciation of form. This deliberate engagement fosters mindfulness, inviting the listener to slow down, notice subtle details, and enter a calm, reflective state. In this way, mythology, visual art, and storytelling merge seamlessly into a practice of immersive relaxation. As we reflect on these myths tonight, we also recognize their timelessness. Though thousands of years old, the stories of Egyptian monsters continue to captivate, fascinate, and teach. Their symbolism remains relevant: protection and vulnerability, chaos and order, strength and restraint, cycles and renewal, all universal themes that resonate with the human experience. By approaching these creatures with calm curiosity, we cultivate a deeper understanding of complexity, balance, and resilience, while simultaneously allowing the mind to relax and settle. In closing, it is worth imagining the final tableau: a quiet Egyptian landscape under a starlit sky. Taret stands vigil beside a mother and child. Sekhmet rests after her divine work. Bobby observes the underworld silently. The Bennu rises over the Nile. Serpopards entwine gracefully, and griffins keep watch over treasures. Apep, contained by the rituals and cycles of the cosmos, waits in the shadows, its presence a reminder of challenges met and overcome. This scene embodies both wonder and calm, tension and resolution, fascination and serenity. It encourages the listener to dwell gently in imagination, absorbing patterns, rhythms, and symbolic insights as the mind drifts toward rest. The legacy of these monsters is thus twofold. They teach us about the world and ourselves, and they provide a mental space for reflection, curiosity, and relaxation. By engaging with myth in a slow, deliberate, immersive way, we allow both the mind and imagination to follow a gentle rhythm, tracing shapes, observing cycles, and contemplating contrasts. This process fosters calm attention, reflective thought, and a sense of narrative continuity, qualities essential for immersive storytelling designed to relax, soothe, and prepare the listener for sleep. Tonight, as our journey concludes, the creatures of ancient Egypt retreat gently into memory, leaving behind patterns of wonder, lessons of balance, and a lingering sense of calm curiosity. Their forms, actions, and symbolism remind us that even monsters, beings of danger, power, and unpredictability, can be observed, appreciated, and understood through reflection and imagination. In embracing this approach, we cultivate both fascination and serenity, curiosity and relaxation, tension and reassurance, a perfect harmony that echoes the rhythms of myth, life, and the quiet journey into sleep. As our journey through the monsters, deities, and mystical beings of ancient Egypt draws to a close, we enter a space of reflection, quiet contemplation, and gentle mental rest. This final section is less about individual creatures and more about the enduring lessons they leave behind, whispering insights that resonate through time, echoing softly in the mind as the day fades into night. Imagine the desert sands under a moonlit sky, the Nile flowing quietly, and the temples standing still, guardians of stories, symbols, and ancient wisdom. In this tranquil setting, we allow ourselves to absorb the rhythm, symbolism, and serenity of the myths we have explored, carrying calm curiosity into our own minds. The monsters and mystical beings of Egypt, from fierce Sekhmet to vigilant griffins, serve as mirrors of human experience. They embody dualities, cycles, and contrasts, power and restraint, chaos and order, destruction and renewal. These creatures are not merely stories for entertainment. They are meditative guides, gently encouraging us to reflect on our own lives. By observing their patterns, movements, and symbolic roles, we engage in a subtle form of self-exploration. Imagine Taret watching over a child, Sekhmet pausing in her golden mane's glow, and Babi surveying the shadows of the underworld. Each figure teaches us patience, reflection, and the measured use of energy. Cycles are central to Egyptian myth, and their creatures illustrate this beautifully. The Bennu bird rises and falls, symbolizing rebirth and the promise of renewal. Apep's nightly struggle reminds us that challenges are part of the natural order, always followed by restoration. Even the Serpopard's intertwined necks illustrate the interconnection of forces, the delicate balance between different energies. By contemplating these cycles slowly, with attention to detail, the listener is guided into a meditative state. Observing repetition, rhythm, and harmony in myth encourages a similar acceptance of cycles in life, fostering calm and reflective awareness. Another enduring lesson is the value of balance. Ancient Egyptian monsters combine opposing qualities. Griffins merge earth and sky, Serpopards blend strength with flexibility, Sekhmet embodies wrath and healing. These dualities remind us that harmony arises from understanding, integration, and measured action. In quiet visualization, we can imagine these creatures moving deliberately through imagined landscapes, their actions governed by purpose and equilibrium. This mental practice cultivates mindfulness, calm attention, and a sense of peaceful engagement with complexity, an ideal mental space for transitioning towards sleep. These myths also highlight the role of guardianship and protection. From griffins safeguarding treasures to Taret protecting mothers and children, these beings remind us that vigilance and care can coexist with gentleness. In reflecting on their watchful presence, we find reassurance and a sense of security within our own minds. Their stories gently encourage responsibility, awareness, and the thoughtful application of energy, without triggering fear or anxiety. For the listener, this evokes a sense of calm engagement, blending fascination with serenity. Symbolism in Egyptian mythology is rich, layered, and subtle. Observing the Bennu's radiant plumage, tracing the Serpopard's sinuous curves, or imagining Sekhmet's poised golden mane encourages mental focus and slow, deliberate attention. This is not a race. It is a rhythm of observation and reflection. Each detail is an invitation to slow down, to notice, and to absorb the harmony embedded in the narrative. Through this engagement, the listener cultivates both curiosity and tranquility, a duality mirrored in the myths themselves. The epilogue also invites reflection on resilience and transformation. Many creatures, like the Bennu or Sekhmet, embody the ability to endure, transform, and restore. By internalizing these qualities, listeners are encouraged to approach challenges and transitions with patience and awareness. The creature's story suggests that even fearsome forces, when understood and respected, can provide lessons in endurance, renewal, and balance. This perspective fosters mental calmness and gentle curiosity, ideal for a bedtime or relaxation-focused narrative. Visualizing these beings as part of a larger cosmic order reinforces a sense of continuity and connection. Imagine the Nile flowing past temples, monsters and deities quietly fulfilling their roles, and the moonlight glinting off golden artifacts. The world of ancient Egypt is not chaotic. It is structured, rhythmic, and purposeful. Engaging with this imagined landscape encourages the listener to feel immersed, reflective, and soothed. The mind can wander slowly through temples, sands, and riverbanks, observing each creature, each pattern, and each cycle without hurry, fostering deep relaxation. As night deepens in our imagination, we can let the creatures fade softly into memory, leaving behind impressions of awe, curiosity, and calm contemplation. Tar, its protective presence, Sekhmet's controlled power, Babi's vigilant authority, the Benu's radiant cycles, Serpapard's mysterious forms, and the Griffin's majestic guardianship, all combine to create a tapestry of reflection and serenity. Their stories linger gently in the mind, a rhythm of fascination and reassurance that prepares consciousness for rest. Finally, the epilogue reminds us that myths are not only stories, they are guides, mirrors, and meditative tools. Engaging with them slowly, attentively, and reflectively allows us to internalize their rhythms and lessons. Through observation, imagination, and gentle reflection, we carry forward curiosity, mindfulness, and calm awareness. The monsters of ancient Egypt whisper their teachings softly, that power can be measured, cycles are natural, dualities coexist harmoniously, and vigilance can be serene. These lessons, absorbed in quiet imagination, offer a perfect transition toward sleep, rest, and mental tranquility. As we close our journey tonight, let us imagine the desert and river, temples and shadows, as they stand in eternal balance. The creatures we have met, majestic, mysterious, protective, radiant, linger only as gentle impressions, guiding the imagination toward reflection and calm. Their lessons echo softly, leaving the mind attentive yet relaxed, curious yet serene, fascinated yet at peace. In this state, the listener is ready to drift gently into sleep, carrying the wisdom, beauty, and balance of ancient Egypt into dreams.